Welcome to podcast 70. We're at 70, aren't we, Terry?
70?
70!
Wow, yeah, we are at 70, which is pretty awesome. How's it? Whoa, sorry about that. Yeah, glad to be here, everyone. As you can see, Johnny, what? Maybe they can't see. Johnny,
No.
we're actually in two separate locations. I think we're going to really throw them off. I'm going to put my hand into your. It doesn't work the same.
I cannot physically touch you.
I know.
It makes me sad.
I bet it does. Well, welcome everyone. This is, of course, Smashbox TV. We are here for podcast number 70. We're going to have an awesome show for you guys tonight. We're going to have Dana Vici join us. Of course, we're going to talk a little bit about what's been going on in the world of disc golf in terms of tournament results and anything else interesting, including some new news from Dana. And we're going to have Drew Gibson. He's going to be joining us. A few weeks ago, he made the announcement that he was, in fact, no longer going to be sponsored by Innova Champion Discs. And I'm sure there was a spoiler or two out there today. That's all right. So if you know it, keep it to yourself for the moment and wait for what some of the sweet action we've got coming from Drew. And, yeah, I think we're going to have a really good time with the show tonight. So
I think we are, too.
Johnny, now I'm trying to read a little bit of the feedback. Yeah, everybody's saying that I can, in fact, keep my hands to myself or inside my own box.
As you should, always.
We'll see how that goes. I make no promises. Not too much going on. I will just say that I was at the Maricopa Open event. We're going to talk about that a little bit later with Dana. One thing that I have already done is reached out to Dave Felberg, looking to possibly get Dave on the show. He was the tournament director for this last weekend's tournament. Of course, I've got a ton of footage, but as I start editing the footage and getting that out, I think the timeliness of it will work out really well. Hopefully we can have Dave on in just 1 week, and he can talk a little bit more about the event and some other exciting things that he had in store and let everyone know at the tournament. So look for that next week. We're going to do our best to see if we can get Dave Felberg from Latitude 64, see if we can get him here on the show. And our show, of course, is made possible in part by Miles over at Paragon Disc Golf. Miles, a huge supporter of all tournaments and clubs throughout the entire country. We also have Daredevil Discs. We had Ricky Singleton last weekend talking to us all about Daredevil. And, of course, Dynamic Discs. Be dynamic. So, Disc Golf Answer Man and the podcast and those guys over at DD. Of course, EMAC and Cool Daddy Slick Breeze, huge supporters of the show. I was thinking the other day, Johnny, DD technically helps support and sponsor our podcast. Would it be nice if we somehow supported the Disc Golf Answer Man podcast?
You know, just us.
Okay, we don't have to. Okay.
Just us being around supports them.
Okay.
I get a kick out of it because I listen to Disc Golf Answer Man. It's a fantastic podcast. If you're not subscribed, please go out and subscribe right after subscribing to ours. Mm-hmm. And I always get a kick out of it when one of their questions from their callers is something like, "Now I heard on Smashbox XYZ. What do you guys think?" And then inevitably they give a little jab at us, and then they go and answer the question as
incorrectly, which is my next point.
As well as they can. I mean, they're not us, but we'll talk to them later.
So. Well, I was thinking that I kept a little notes. I was traveling out here again to the Maricopa Open, and I was listening to Podcast 100. I'm just a little bit behind. And I actually then opened up my phone in a little note section, and I was thinking maybe it would be a nice gesture that if over here at Smashbox we had a weekly segment that would be something like corrections for Disc Golf Answer Man. And, it was just an idea. I jotted down a couple notes. Maybe we'll share those a little later. But as I'm listening to the podcast and they're having conversations and talking about things, there was just a couple things that, there's a few things that I had for them. But anyways, obviously they're amazing, and people are calling for it. Somehow we're going to have a huge show with all of us.
We will. Maybe
do something.
Do we want to? Do we want to break the news now?
No. Simmer down. We've got Latitude news. We've got Innova news. We've got Discmania news. We've got tour news. We've got all sorts of things. We'll get to it.
Fine, I'll wait.
All right, let's bring on. Let's see if we can hunt down Dynamite and see if he's around.
All right, I'm gonna go to a screenshot of me while I pull up Dana's stuff, and we'll make this happen. Actually,
And as you're doing that, I'll let everyone know tonight we have an additional technical challenge in that, of course, I'm not in studio with Johnny. And so Johnny is actually working a couple of different Skype feeds. And so hopefully everything should go well. We tested for at least 6 minutes or so. So I think everything should move very smoothly.
Let's see here. I can't seem to. Here, let's do this. Whoops.
I may have deleted Dana from the profile. I didn't know if we fired him.
We did not. No. Actually, let's have.
Do we need to reach out to?
I
Do we
think.
need to end the call, or you need to end with me for a moment?
Yeah, let me do that.
Okay.
Well, because we were on a group call earlier, we ended
Yep.
it. It was hard to get back on, so I'll be right back.
That's fine.
So while I get Terry back on the line, we are going to get Dana first because actually we'll call Terry back. Nobody really wants to talk to Terry, but we end up having to.
Do you want to build a snowman?
Yeah, so now that I got you here, let's get Dynamite on the line too.
I knew there'd be a challenge here somewhere.
Yeah, there's always just a little bit.
Everyone's saying that I was coming in a little bit hot on the audio. I'm sure you worked out all those kinks.
No, I didn't. You might have to turn your side down a little bit because we've got you and Dana coming in. So.
All right, here we go. Turn myself down.
Dana, are you there?
What's up, bitches?
Hey.
Down. We got a podcast to do here, buddy.
Yeah, what are you doing?
Well, we're live on the air, so glad you could join us.
Oh, me? We're live?
Well, you're not because you're not sending us any video, Dana.
I'm glad I wasn't swearing.
Yeah, glad you weren't because you're already on.
Oh, man, how's my hair? I wasn't ready.
And you.
Yeah. No, we're good.
You know what they say? Good stop. Good stop.
Good stop. Good stop.
Get it all picked up there, Johnny.
Good stop. Yeah.
They're talking about no sound, but hopefully.
Yep. That's exactly what I fixed. That's exactly what I fixed.
Oh, Dana, you may have been saved then. If you came into the show and there was no sound, you may have been saved here by
No, he wasn't.
Okay. Anyway, so we've got Dynamite on the show, and Dana, we missed you last week, but we're excited to get some updates from around the tour and beyond. What do you got for us?
Well, it's still early in the season. I'm going to let you fill us in here in a minute about your trip to Arizona, but that was a B. You were out there for a B tier, the Maricopa Meadows Open, A tier advanced, but there's a B tier down in Savannah, Georgia, actually just outside of Savannah, but the Savannah Open, pretty fun event. I used to go down and play this. I don't know, 2 or 3 years I played it. I think maybe 2, but it's a fun event, really tough course. They had 100 players, so a full field, and on the open side, 25 total open players. And oh boy, I need to turn that sound off. But
this is episode 70, right?
You're still here, Johnny?
I am. I'm hanging out.
But anyways, so on the open side, 25 players, and they man, messages coming through. This is rookie stuff here. I'm off my game. I'm gonna go ahead and go to the finale. Dustin Perry ended up taking the victory over some very good players. Matt Dollar, second place. Matt Dollar is don't know if you guys got into this last week, but he is no longer Innova sponsored. He's throwing with Latitude now. So he's part of the Trilogy family, Latitude sponsored, which we'll find out later. It's not all just one umbrella with the Trilogy, right? DD sponsors players, Latitude sponsors players, and Westside sponsors players. Correct, Terry?
They do, and I remember talking with Cool Daddy last year. He said really the whole idea of the Trilogy came up. That was more of actually a fan base. That was fan base driven. That people just kind of referred to the three companies as the Trilogy. They obviously operate all their own, different ways and in their separate channels, but yet, they work together in the sense that they're come out of the dynamic disc distribution, which is a mouthful. They all come out of that distribution center down there in Emporia, but they are three different channels and three entirely separate different companies that just work together. And so I'm gonna add a note onto that. A few months ago, when I was covering an event in North Carolina, the Spikeheiser finale with Chuck, he was giving out some baskets, and they were portable baskets by Innova, and they had Matt Dollar's imagery on them, a photo or an image of him throwing. And I've said this before, but just like any other major company, when you're talking about some of your sponsored players or some of these people that you're endorsing or promoting and are essentially a face of your company, it seems we're to that point where now it kind of looks odd. I've been in a Walmart and seen Matt Oram on the placards for discs for Innova, for instance, Matt Dollar on the box for Innova, and so on and so forth. So there's actually some other financial repercussions and situations where, as these players change and move, they're going to be changing their branding and their marketing. And in theory, at some point, they're going to want to be printing new boxes that has a sponsored player of theirs on it.
Yeah. So, well, they've got Paul McBeth. They've got Paul McBeth for the next 3 years locked up. So throw him on everything. And actually,
they already do. They already throw him on everything.
Yeah, I've got a Vibram starter pack, a 3-disc little box set, and it's got a quote from me on it about Vibram discs. So, I don't think I'm in any Walmarts or anything, but
no more than normal.
You're not quite that big time. Just kidding. So let's move away from let's move on. We got more news from you, but move on with other tournament results.
I was just gonna talk about the Savannah Open here a little bit. Otherwise, there wasn't a whole lot. I did want to give a shout out to our friends over in Australia. They had their biggest turnout ever for a one-day event, 38 players. Winning and TDing the event was Aaron Morton, and that was in Uranga, Australia. Other than that, I was going to let you chit-chat it up about your little Arizona vacation. And, your work trip, Arizona.
Just because I got sunburn doesn't mean I was out vacationing. Thank you very much. Well, like I said at the intro, I'm going to keep it to some of the basics because I definitely want to see if we can get Dave Feldberg on next week to kind of elaborate on some of the things. But first and foremost, I need to send a huge shout out to all of the Maricopa club members. They're just an amazing crew. There were, 2 guys that really kind of helped get the course in, along with the HOA president. I believe his name is Chris Price. I apologize. But he kind of helped get the course in the ground. And then as more players and people came along, they revamped the course and then turned it into so much more. And this is kind of rare, I guess you find in Arizona, especially out where we were. There was grass everywhere. They were playing on grass, which is really nice and not that common. So it's technically part of the homeowners association, and it spans, I don't know how many miles, but it spans all these different blocks, and the neighbors, surprisingly, are really receptive of it. There's discs that are thrown constantly over walls that require an errant shot, but they're thrown over walls, and the neighbors, they said, have been very good about it, and it was just a really awesome experience. Now, Felberg was running the tournament as part of Latitude 64, but he had a whole support network, including the guy that took me to the airport, dropped me off, and Paul Brenner. He was awesome. I stayed with Javier Kowalski, and if I recall, it's PDGA 3178. Javier and I used to play against one another in Michigan in the late 90s and early 2000s. So I've known and seen Jav forever. So to go out there and spend time with him and his amazing wife, Amy Jo, was just awesome. I got to hang out with Tina from Whale Sax, did some work with her. She was staying there as well, playing in advanced women. She took second place. And then I also saw Eric from Discmania. He was hanging out there. So it's just a really great group of people. And then all the people from the club chipped in some way. You know, I mentioned Paul, I mentioned Hav, the mayor, the old HOA president in Chris. He came out and is now the mayor, and he threw out the first disc, as he's done for the last 3 years, along with the fire marshal. He threw out the first disc. So that's something that they've been doing for a couple of years. So that's a great way to kick off a tournament. There was free lunch both Saturday and Sunday. There was a band, actually 2 live performances on Saturday afternoon. It was just awesome. There's doubles on Friday night. I got matched up with Stephen Miller, had a really good time playing with a couple of great guys, Stephen and Scott and the rest of the crew. And
I think
so
Stephen's pretty active on Instagram, if anyone likes Instagram pictures.
Just so many. I say it all the time, and I know every club has a little bit of frustration or turmoil or ego or whatever. I think it's pretty common in a lot of places. But going here and just seeing such a collaborative effort, so many people working together, everybody kind of had their role. To have one guy doing scorecards while another guy is setting up the course, while yet another guy is working on lunches and entertainment, and another guy's doing sponsorship, you know, or one guy's doing 2 or 3 of those roles, but there's 3 or 4 of them. I'm jealous. I'm very envious. A lot of times tournaments can really be on the shoulders of 1 or 2 people with a couple helpers the day of. But in this case, it was a collaborative effort. So just awesome to see. So thank you to all of the Maricopa Meadows Open staff and crew and spotters. 135 players, 27 holes with 5 people per hole, and less than 4-hour rounds. So things moved along very nicely. So here's the unique part, or one of the unique parts about playing in it. On Saturday, there was, I'll call it a late start intentionally. There's just 1 round of 27. Did a players meeting around 9:30 or 10. Yeah, it was about 9:30. Teed off at 10:45. You play 1 round of 27 holes. You had lunch provided for free, and then they had the bands playing, all that stuff. So that was Saturday. And then Sunday, it was tee times. So the first tee off was at 8, and the last tee off was at 12:30. And so then they cycled through all 135 people that way. And then the final group, of course, teed off last, which was your leader card. So in the open division. So just a really unique tournament. You still got 54 holes of golf in, but it was a little more relaxed than what you would feel because of the 2 rounds of 27. So good stuff.
Cool. Yeah. That was, wow.
I can't say enough. It was such a great experience to be there and to see this club. I've never been that far south in Arizona before. Normally, when I think of Arizona, I've been to Flagstaff twice for the 03 and the 05 Worlds. I've been to, Phoenix, obviously, now about a dozen times regarding the Memorial. But to go a little further south in Maricopa, it's the city just in the middle of nowhere. It's about 30 minutes south of Phoenix, 30 to 45 minutes south. And they have a really, really good community and a lot of great people and a lot of good things happening there. So, and hats off to Dave and all the group, everyone he worked with. And of course, Javier, my host, and Hav's to me, Hav's kind of like the godfather out there, and just filled with a endless supply of information and knowledge, and kind of helps keep people glued together, and does a really good job of it. So I'll read you some results to give you some of the tweet action. I'll say the first round, you're going to see it in the coverage. The first round, we saw Dave Felberg, Anthony Barella, Paul Ulibarri, Katrina Allen, along with Javier. He kind of mixed up cards, so a lot of people played with a lot of different divisions during the first round, which was a really unique format and a good way to do it. So I covered those 5 players for the 27 holes. Felberg jumped out to a lead. He shot a 68, which was unofficially rated a 1044. And then Barella was just 3 off of him. This is Anthony Barella, 3 off of him, shooting a 71. They just did par as 81, 27 times the 3. So when I look at a 68 and you think, okay, that's a 13 under par, it's probably really more like a 15, maybe even a 16 or 17 under par, because there would be par 4s out there had they, I guess, determined them as such. There's holes that would qualify as a few par 4s out there for sure. And then Yuli had a little bit of a rough round. He shot a 73, so he's a few off the pace. And then second round, we saw Felberg, Barella, Owen Bear, who was the first time I got to meet Owen, Paul Ulibarri, and Preston Johnson was the leader card. And Felberg, he got a little pressure there by Barella, but then he ultimately pulled away, and he went on to a 6-stroke victory. So he shot a 68 and a 66 to shoot 134 on the day and get Barella and the rest of the group. Katrina, this is something worth noting. There wasn't any other women playing in the women's division, so rather than playing alone in her own division, she actually played in the open men's division, and she finished just, I believe, 1 spot out of cash, 1 or 2. I know Pete Ulibarri got cash, and so it looks like Katrina finished 2 strokes out of the cash. So just barely. She still beat more than half the field, but she finished 2 strokes out of the cash. Shane Dent, how do you pronounce that? Is it Denier? Voodoo Bags. Certainly worth mentioning. He was a sponsor. He sponsors Felberg and a handful of others, but and gave away a free Voodoo bag. He went on to win Masters. So you show up, you sponsor the tournament, and then you win the tournament. That sounds like disc golf karma to me. Harvey Brandt won in Grandmasters. PDGA number, Dana, do you know? Can you guess?
1376.
299.
Ooh, almost a perfect game. Almost a perfect PDGA number.
Yeah, anytime you're in the presence of someone that's, a low 3-digit PDGA number, both him and then Jeff Hungerford, who was the gracious host when he gave me a ride to the airport and let me catch a shower beforehand, is Jeff Hungerford. He's a huge supporter of golf. He watches Johnny V and I and you. He says he loves watching Smashbox. Jeff is PDGA number 688. So he was also there having a good time. He finished in the cash. Chris Linscott, a supporter. He went on to win in the advanced division.
Wait, Chris Linscott with the K?
Yep.
He's from Illinois.
Okay.
I wonder what he's doing out there. He lives right down the road from me, so sorry.
Trina Letting
woke me up.
Trina had won in advanced women, as I said, with Tina finished in second. Jeff Myers in advanced master, Jeff Knutson in advanced grandmaster, Jesus Torres in intermediate, and in intermediate 8 intermediate women, and coming from Ohio, I think they said during the awards. So trying to beat me for that furthest traveled was Molly Garrett's. So congratulations to her. And then in rec, Daryl Stoneman. So 135 competitors, great players packed.
You know what, Terry? Why don't you just name them all off? You've named probably
I named every divisional winner. I was there. They showed nothing but love and support for the video blogs and for Smashbox. So I named all the winners.
No, I'm glad you did, and shout out to all the Smashies out there that you got to meet and that tune in regularly. I'm sad I'm not going to see you guys in a month or so.
Yeah, so it was great being there, and again, it's just so warm, literally warm and welcoming. Lots of people, saying that they like the show, that they think it's way better than Disc Golf Answer Man. I'm just kidding. That they like the show and they really appreciate all of our efforts, and so for that, I'd love to give them a big hug back to everybody else. It was awesome.
Terry,
really good.
Remember, they're a sponsor. Let's not.
Yeah. Well, Disc Golf Answer Man's not. DD is. So we can rip on them or something, or not. Anyway, so yes, that was the extended version. Like I said, I'd like to have Felberg on, though. He's got some specific Latitude 64 initiatives, and we can pick his brain a little bit about playing and running the tournament, and some of those things. The trophies, which were amazing. I think all of that stuff is great conversation for next week. So.
All right, now that Terry's given us our event updates, Dana, why don't you and I give Drew a call, and we'll interview him, and we'll get rid of Terry, for crying out loud.
Yeah, no kidding. Who needs me?
Who needs you? No, but Dana, were there any other events you wanted to talk to us about this week that you can talk to us?
Nah, there's not really anything I want to talk about event-wise, but I have a few topics. I don't know what kind of time we have. What do you guys think? I know Terry hasn't looked at the show notes, but
yeah, I have. Bring it on.
We got about, I'd say, between 5 and 10 minutes if you want to chat.
Right. Okay, let's go ahead and delve into this one. Yesterday, kind of quietly, the PDGA updated their 2016 tour standards, which is kind of interesting that they're doing it well into 2016 when already all the A tiers and NTs and basically the schedule is already made, and you've had to agree to these standards.
And like myself, I'm running an event in 3 weeks. I've sanctioned tournaments before I had adhered to those new rules. Is that what you're saying?
Basically, yes.
Okay. Yep.
And this rule might not affect you in a couple of weeks. It's probably not going to affect 9 out of 10 tournaments, but there are some tournaments that are going to be greatly affected and influenced by this. You may see some big things changing. The big change that I'm talking about is there's no longer throw in distance or stroke in distance allowed to be PDGA rated. So you can run an event and have stroke in distance, which for those that don't know, it's when you throw a shot out of bounds and you have to rethrow from your last lie with a penalty. So instead of moving up to the last spot where it was in bounds or going to a drop zone. So basically events like the Ledgestone, the USDGC, United States Disc Golf Championship, these courses and tournaments that have a number of holes that have in the past had stroke and distance no longer can have stroke and distance.
Well, they want the PDGA ratings. Yeah. Do you think that's going to stop? You think it's going to stop some of these events from doing that, or do you think they're just going to kind of wash their hands and say, well, you're not going to get a rating for this event? And do you think that's because some of these players have maybe complained that they're taking these enormous scores, quote unquote, ruining their rating?
Yeah, that could play into it. I think in the case of the USDGC, Harold Duval, who is one of the main people behind, he's one of the runs Innova East, one of the main guys behind USDGC and the Winthrop Gold Course. Harold's on the competition committee. Is that what it's called, or is it they're a new group? So he, I believe, is one of the people pushing to get rid of the stroke and distance or throw and distance, as it hasn't quite worked how he anticipated, and it has actually spawned a whole, you see ropes all over the world now. And where did that start?
Yeah, that had been started
Winthrop
there.
Gold.
Yeah.
But one thing I might see, if a course is dependent on that, why, and you're not going to get ratings for it, and it might just be a reason to not sanction your event. So It's going to be, something that TDs are going to have to think about. Do the players really care about the ratings that much? And do you care about, if you've got this course that has throw and distance built into it, do you really want to use it? And where do you draw the line?
Yeah, that's going to be that's going to make for some interesting events, whether or not they sanction. I mean, there's so many events now that have one hole maybe, and it might not even be that bad of a hole, just 180-foot island hole or something along those lines. That's going to change a lot of things.
Yeah, and I would guess that a lot of tournament directors they'll be oblivious of the rule or the rule change or whatever you want to call it.
You got to assume the PDGA is going to. Did they put something out on the front page of their, or was it? You said quietly. Was it out there?
It was just I noticed an update to the standards, and when I checked it out today, let's see if it's on the front page of the PDGA website. I think it was just there's no big story, I don't think.
Well, I would think something like that's got to be coming up.
Yeah, I imagine. I'm sure Chuck's already written a number of snarky articles with clever lines, puns, and all that, because he's if you haven't noticed, he's very good at that.
He's the king of that.
Yes.
But yeah, hopefully there'll be some sort of, just to get the word out, because it'd be I don't know if you want to call it unfair for some tournaments to abide by it and some to not, and to change their whole, whether it's one hole or half a course or.
And Dana, you clarified, it's not that they can't have it. Events need to get permission, so to speak, or get it approved by the PDGA, and in certain situations, the event may not receive the rating. So there's some variance depending on exactly what you're doing and where it is. And
Chuck Kennedy seemed to make it clear that under no circumstances are you going to get ratings. You can get a waiver, and in the past few years, I think since 2013, you needed to get a waiver for a special rule such as that, but there was no question if it was going to be rated or not. Basically, what Chuck is saying is the ratings weren't built for the throw and distance or stroke and distance, whatever you want to call it.
Now, is that going to cause an event to, let's say, have a drop zone 10 feet in front of the tee pad? That's technically not stroke and distance. You're now taking a drop. Or is that, are you going to see TDs kind of maybe trying to subvert the rule, so to speak, a little bit?
The drop zone, the tee pad.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. Or, we've seen it before. Drop zones can be short pads. Drop zones can be 100 feet to the right. Drop zone. There's infinite number of combinations. The question is, are we going to see TDs try to circumvent the rules?
Yeah, that's possible. I'll say this: we have Chuck again. You just got to say his name 3 times, and he shows up.
I know. Here he is.
He specifically has chimed in on the board, and so I'd love to repeat what he's saying here for those audio listeners. He says granularity, which is a tough word to say. Story posted December 1st already tipped people off on this issue, and that's where, as you said, he talked about lots of different things and people watching and separation and scores and all those types of things. You should definitely go back and read that article. I think I need to reread it, but that's what he's saying, is that this, that was kind of maybe a foreshadow at the time for, a change such as this. So.
Okay. Well.
And then question is if they'll still get points. I'm assuming players will still get points. You'll still get a win. You'll still get all those other things, but the ratings, that's an interesting place to draw the line too, because like the question coming in is points. We're not saying that does that make your whole event a little less validated? You're not going to give a rating. Where else are you going to draw the line? Does there not have to be, other things that are all part of a PDGA event? I don't know. It's an interesting place to draw the line to say, okay, you're not going to get a rating for that.
Yeah, and then people, I saw a couple people bring up the legality of mandatories and transferring this ruling over to a mandatory, and does that make a mandatory? You have to go to you have to re-tee with a penalty stroke, or you have to, I don't know. Interesting stuff, and it's gonna be fun to see how it plays out, I guess. Whether or not some TDs go as far as not sanctioning their event, and whether or not some get rid of the holes, or I'd guess that a lot of them will comply to get the ratings, because lots of players do like the ratings. I could see a bigger event, like a big pro event, where it seems ratings aren't as important to pros, maybe.
Yeah.
Well, let me say this. on the Disc Golf World Tour website, it talks about wanting to work with the PDGA and be in conjunction with them. I haven't, unless it's been updated recently. I believe their opening event is not sanctioned.
Yeah.
Is this a precursor? Is this a foreshadow to not sanctioning the USDGC? I mean, and what I'm getting at is there conflicting storylines out there that they talk of sanctioning, but I've yet to see anything that says that they're really part of the PDGA in this sense. And I know a lot of people are questioning just that. You know, they're not majors. They're, you know, all these other events are not majors. They're currently not even A or B tiers. They're other events in other countries. But as of right now, unless there's something I don't know, none of them, with the exception of the USDGC, currently listed as being sanctioned. And this rule in stroke and distance being such a, you know, a concept, or some of these other concepts, I'm not saying I'm calling it now, but it's an interesting way to look at it. So I'll be interested to see what happens. Nate Doss is on the board here, tuned in tonight, says that he applauds the PDGA on this ruling. So
and I told and Chuck said that if we want, we can have him on a little later, maybe after Drew, for a couple other things we want to talk about.
Okay. So there you go. So we'll get back to this more. It's certainly a great point to bring up, Dana. It's something that all TDs, you know, need to consider, because sometimes it's your smaller C tiers where you're doing some crazy stuff. Sometimes it's the USDGC where they're doing all sorts of unique rules on any given day, or any given year. Obviously, Ledgestone is another part of the conversation that's out there. Somebody had just asked the same thing. Ledgestone used a number of different rules in a number of different scenarios, and this may or may not be some direct response to some of the things that they saw at Ledgestone. So we'll see how it unfolds for sure.
Yep.
My parting really question for thought for you, Dana. We saw some exciting news and announcement out of you yourself in the last few days.
I was going to congratulate you on that.
Yeah.
Let's hear it. Make it Smashbox official here, Dana. Tell everyone what you got.
All right, as many of you Smashies had probably figured out already, this year I'll be playing for Discmania, golf disc. So Discmania. So
wow,
yeah,
reinvent your game.
Yep. And actually, I'm working on a little blog series that I'll be posting. It might be written, it might be some short videos, maybe a tweet.
Just a tweet.
Maybe an Instagram post. I don't know. You know, it's going to be something to do and maybe something to follow along for. So
maybe. I feel threatened already.
You feel threatened?
Yep, already. Just like that.
Yeah, I mean, just like you're threatened. Go on. Never mind.
Eagle's got his vlog. So are you telling me you're going to rival Eagle's vlog? Because those are big shoes to fill.
I'm not touching that right there. This will be Eagle's vlogs are very special. That Eagle's a special kid, and I'm going to leave that style of vlogging to him. That's you know, he's very good at that, and I don't think that would be. No one wants to see me walk around with my baby and, you know, do stuff.
I don't know. It could be. So we'll finish one final question regarding this, and we'll move on. It seems like things are tightening down on the Innova side, the Discmania side. You will be exclusively throwing Discmania discs, or will there be a mixed bag with the Innova lineup?
It's going to be 90+% Discmania. So there might be an Innova family mold in there. Right now, I'm finding that the MD, which is Discmania's most understable mid-range, isn't quite as understable as I would like, and I don't have one broken in. So, you know, I might have a really beat up old DX Rock that I used to throw for the inside-out hyzer flip shot, or a Wombat. I don't know, the Lycan.
Cobra.
So yeah, there
or,
might
or an
be.
old Drew Gibson disc.
Yeah, and I actually was trying to get some discs from Drew, but he's trying to get rich off me. So
Everybody
I'm not
is.
gonna give him. But yeah, so it'll be nearly all Discmania. There might be a random Innova mold here and there. We'll see. But
All right, so what we should have is a little tracker this year. We've got you leaving your previous sponsor, going to Discmania and Innova.
I wanted to ask who. I wanted to ask
Discmania.
I just wanted to ask who his
Discmania.
sponsor going to be next year.
No, I wasn't going to go there.
I'm just teasing,
I was
Dana.
going to say we have Drew leaving Innova.
Yep.
And let's see where you and Drew shake out at the end of the year. Is that a good side bet?
You mean where we shake?
Well, money won, tournaments won.
You're talking about a guy who just had a baby. He's still got stretch marks.
All right.
Drew and I are in definitely different places in our lives. I'm just going to leave it at that.
I don't even know if Drew can go into a bar yet.
Show. We'll have Drew here in just a few minutes. Dana, I appreciate it. The last update I've got regarding events and updates, we talked about Maricopa. I wanted to send a huge shout out to Anthony Barella. Accepted cash. He, of course, won Am Worlds, as we all know, last year, and then went on and here in the first event of this year was offered cash, second place behind Dave Felbrick. I think it was $400, and he's, of course, now a full-fledged professional. So this, I believe, is kicking off his first year, and we'll be excited to report back on his rookie season at the end of the year. I think there's big things in store.
Do you put him odds-on favorite to win Rookie of the Year?
I mean, he clearly has to be a contender. Dana,
I think so.
Yeah, and you know what? I would not rule out Isaac McDonald. I know Isaac got second place to Anthony at both AmNats and Am Worlds, but Isaac is just
he's really good.
He's getting really good. He broke his arm playing football this year, and then he came right back in like first league. Bam, wins. Yeah. He's just out there shooting great rounds, and he's coming off a broken throwing arm, and he's just getting bigger and bigger and better. So it's going to be it'll be interesting to see how many big events those guys play, and whether or not they play enough. But it's probably going to come down to those two.
Well, I was going to say, I bet you it comes down to whomever is able to tour more, because they're both in school. I mean, if AB can get out on tour over the summer, or Isaac can get out on tour and the other can't, that'll probably be what determines it.
Yeah, I mean, Isaac is being here in the Midwest with the Disc Golf Pro Tour it's probably gonna give Isaac a big leg up. He's gonna be able to get to a number of these events a lot easier than Anthony. I don't know how far he can really go at his age, coming from Arizona. Unless Macbeth takes him under his wing or something. We see him out there with Macbeth and Sexton. We know they're good buddies. But yeah, Isaac's going to be able to get to a lot more big events, being where he is here in the Midwest. So I think that'll be more fun to watch than me versus Drew. Let's just forget about that.
All right. All right, Dana. Well, we appreciate the updates, and thank you so much. We're glad to have you back on the show, and looking forward to a huge 2016. Congratulations on your transitions.
Thank you. And good to be back. And I just want to give a shout out to my good buddy Steve Slater. He's did some work at my house this last week. He does all kinds of great stuff, refinishes basements, bathrooms, et cetera. So if anyone's in the greater Illinois area, hit Steve up. He's the man. So
yes, he is.
We'll see you next time, boys.
Thanks,
All
Dana.
Right, have a good night. Thanks, Dana.
Don't choke, Drew.
All right. Of course, Dana Vici here. I'm not sure, Johnny, if we're allowing third-party plugs on commercial endeavors. Well, I don't know. We'll send Steve. No, I'm just kidding. Steve's a great guy. Comes up and plays in a lot of the Wisconsin events, and has a relatively little one a few years ago. And just a super great guy. So, yeah, if you need the work done, hit him up. Just like our pal Dan Harback, if you're looking into any garage needs, he's our guy. Huge Smashy and huge supporter.
Yeah, I felt
All right,
I
so,
felt I needed to give Dana a little bitty jab. When we started the podcast, he was a Vibram sponsor. The next year,
yep.
2015, he moved over to Prodigy. Now 2016, he's at Discmania. We can kind of judge how many years the podcast has been around based on how many sponsors Dana has.
The notches on his disc bag,
yeah,
or something.
So, I think Dana's going to do really, really well with Discmania. So I'm looking forward to him coming through the Midwest and kicking some butt, probably. So.
All right, they're yelling, saying that I'm super loud. Maybe when you go to the 2-shot with just you and I, it seems like I come in super loud.
You do. I think it's a Skype thing. So.
Okay. So what we can dial up Drew here. We're going to have a giveaway right away thanks to Dynamic Disc. We're going to have a trivia question. We're going to have 2 different trivia questions for 2 separate discs. We're going to be giving some action away thanks to those guys over there. So shortly after we get Drew on the line, we're going to go ahead and have our first giveaway. So I don't know. Can you dial him up, or are you going to need to let me go and then?
No, I think I should be able to get him on now. I figured out how exactly that works, how this whole Skype thing works.
Oh, yeah. That was Oprah's top pick in 2001 or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Ooh. All right, we've got. Oh, yeah. That was Oprah's top pick. All right.
Me.
All right. Do we have him here? Looks like. That was Oprah's top pick. Welcoming to the show, Mr. Drew Gibson. How you doing tonight, Drew?
Good. How are you?
Good. We got 3 different guys in 3 different cities. Let's get right to it. Where are you at? What are you doing?
I'm in Emporia, hanging out with all the Dynamic Disc guys at Bobby's house, playing cards.
All right. So earlier today, it was announced that you are now a Dynamic Disc sponsored player. That's a transition from you. You've been with Innova, and they've supported you for the last couple years, and now you're moving into a different family. Tell us how some of that came about.
I just talked with McCabe and Rusco after the USCDC this year, and it all kind of fell into place and worked out for all of us where, we all kind of are enjoying the spot that we're in. I felt the move from Innova, who always took really good care of me, to Dynamic Disc was good for, not only myself, but Dynamic.
And then you've transitioned, just like we talked with Dana. He's transitioned. There doesn't have to be bridge burning, no backstabbing, none of that. It's just this is a better move and a better fit for you, and it just sounds like it's the place you need to be right now.
Yeah, there was no hard feelings at all. I called Jonathan actually before I called Rusco to tell him that I would like to be on the team for 2016 and forever, and the conversation was fine. He understood the position that I was in, and he understood, we all kind of understood what was going on during the year. I had told him before I even threw the Dynamic Disc product that I was going to be testing out what they had. So it wasn't like a big secret. The whole time, there was like a month and a half where they knew, that I was testing out other product. So it wasn't like a big surprise when I called and talked to them.
Well, and you had to look into the product. You had to make sure you were comfortable with the situation and the scenario and some of the endeavors and things you're going to be doing. Now, I'm going to pick on you a little bit. Last year, you seemed a little burned out. You're a youngster, but you seemed a little burned out at times. And in talking to you in the last few weeks, it feels like you have a little fresh energy. Why is that?
Just at a certain point, playing weekend after weekend after weekend, tournament after tournament after tournament, round after round after round. I played 34 tournaments last year, not counting any non-sanctioned events I played. So after my 26th tournament, I was kind of like, okay, this is getting monotonous. The year before, I only played 24 or 26 tournaments. So at halfway through the year, I was at 26 tournaments, and I was kind of like, okay, I'm kind of at my point where I need a break, but it was Kansas City Wide Open, Maple Hill, the 3 weeks month I spent in Europe, and then the World Championship. I didn't really have a chance to go home and like take a little break, until after the World. So I had a few stint of a couple weeks there where I definitely was a little burnt out just because of how much I played from Memorial to, a couple weeks before the Worlds, where it was just every day, all day I played.
Now, you have some really exciting things going on, I know, to keep the energy fresh, to keep things alive and moving. You're going to take on a few other roles and tasks this year. Tell us about some of those.
Yeah, I'm going to be doing the 2 disc challenges with John Ray on the RV. I'm going to be there a lot. I'm going to Bowling Green Am instead of playing Nick Hyde or the Rumble. So there's a few different opportunities that most people aren't going to be taking advantage of. Just to name a few, I'm going to be doing clinics a lot of the time, Masters Cup, all that little West Coast swing. I'll be doing clinics. Memorial, if there's anybody there. I know Bobby's going to be there to do it in the bag. People have been asking about that. So there's going to be plenty of opportunities that I'm going to be doing with Dynamic Disc that I never got the opportunity to do with Innova.
All right. Well, that is a perfect segue that you didn't even know I was setting you up for. Our giveaway. We're going to get to one of them right now. Bobby clued me in, and you can give the answer or let us know as soon as you see it. As always, well, okay, that's the disc we'll give away. Thank you. I guess we're not going to use that for some of the questions. So we're going to give away. What do you got there? Is that a Lucid Felon?
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got a Lucid Felon on the line. It's going to be given out by our friends over at DD. It'll ship from out there. The question, and this, we'll say the first person to answer correctly. Johnny, is it going to be my screen or yours? Because sometimes they're not the same.
We'll go with my screen.
With your screen, you know the answer? That would help.
I believe Bobby did send that to us.
Okay, so go ahead and ask the question then, Johnny.
Question number 1. For the first person to answer this correctly, what is Drew Gibson's home course?
Wow.
Yeah.
No, Starfire's not the answer, although we're going to have to at some point make that the right answer again.
Oh, Jordan Castro nailed it right away.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, Jordan really needs felons.
The background that Jordan Castro sponsored by the Trilogy lineup, Latitude 64, I believe specifically.
Can we override that? If he's
we probably could.
Should we go we can go the very next one. We can go Sean Connell.
Yeah. Right. Hey Jordan, here's your consolation prize, buddy. We all wish you from Smashy Land, Smashbox TV. We wish you a happy birthday. You just had a birthday not long ago. Happy birthday. Yep. So you get that instead of a disc.
Yeah, even Bobby says we don't think he doesn't really need any more.
All right. So let's go on to the next question. First person to answer this question correctly will get the Lucid Felon.
The Lucid Felon. All right, the question is, the very first person to get this right, not named Jordan Castro. What?
Or any other Trilogy sponsored player.
Or any other Trilogy sponsored player. Sorry, Ricky. Question 2. What does Drew putt with?
And this, of course, being his new putter.
His new putter.
What will Drew be putting with? And so while we wait for that to come in, again, Drew.
Plastic type? There it is. Plastic type?
Oh, is it there? Johnny?
There you go.
I think the plastic type.
That's not it.
Yeah, Sean Connell.
That's not it. You don't know the classic
20 people arguing about it.
Oh.
I'm looking for the answer.
Oh, I'm Jake.
All right, so for all of our audio-only podcast listeners, we've got Drew and EMAC here somewhat on screen, and then we've got a half dozen other DD guys off in the background. They're all at Bobby Brown's house playing some cards tonight, so I think we're going to have a kind of a mixed interview here with Drew and some others.
Has anybody seen the right answer out there?
Yes.
All right, then you tell me what you saw as the right answer, because the answer I have from Bobby is classic putter.
Oh no, I did think about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a classic.
I saw
Yeah.
I saw Classic Judge out there. I didn't know if that was the same as Classic Putter.
Did you say classic putter,
Correct.
Bobby?
Yes.
What I said.
So that is the same. All right.
Yeah. The Judge.
The Judge. Okay, that's all right. Good. That's what I was looking for.
All right, so we have our official winner. We are never gonna get these giveaways down.
All right. So the first person that I see with the answer of a judge was Kyle Groff.
That's what I saw.
Kyle Groff with the judge.
Wow. All right, let's move on.
Yeah.
All right.
Giveaways.
Dana.
All right. So, Drew, we'll move on. In one of the conversations earlier today, people thought that we were Smashbox was scooped. That everyone had seen the announcement by DD. In fact, we knew that where you were going, what you were doing for the last few weeks. But you've been in Emporia, probably signing contracts, but you've also been doing some other things. Tell us what's kept you busy in the Midwest there.
I mean, we've just been, talking about what's going to happen for the 2016 season, really. I mean, I did some videos and stuff with Bobby today, hung out with Rusco for the last few days. I mean, we went and checked out the Kansas City Discmania, the Dynamic Disc Shop.
You'll get it.
And we went to the Emporia store today as well.
Okay. Now, how many times have you been to the Glass Blown Open?
I played last year, that was it.
Oh, that was the only year. Obviously, you're going to be back there this year. Quite the undertaking, and then you've got to be looking forward to Worlds, being right there in the same town.
Well, yeah, both being back-to-back almost, in the same year, having a big NT then a big World Championship is obviously huge. I don't know if any other venue has ever done both in the same year. Usually, when Masters Cup, had the Worlds in 2011, Masters Cup wasn't even an NT that same year. Beaver State Fling in 2014 still wasn't a NT. Usually they drop one tournament and pick up another, which they're managing to do both, which is pretty amazing.
Yeah, Kansas City was an example. They fluctuate between A tier and NT and whatever, and then a number of years now in the last 10 years they've had different worlds, or 10 or 12 or 15 years they've had 3 or 4 different worlds, AM and Pro worlds. So yeah, it's a pretty big undertaking. So when they're doing both in the same year, I'll admit I was even a little bit surprised by that. Maybe Bobby was just teasing us a little last year. He said, I'm not even sure if the Glass Blown is going to happen, and now here it is, a national tour event. One exciting announcement, we're going to piggytail on that just a little bit and say we're honored and proud to let the whole world know that we're going to be working with DD and the Glass Blown Open and bringing live coverage from Smashbox to your home out there. So we're super excited to let everyone know about that, and the opportunity was awesome last year to be there and be involved, and we're going to be back again this year. So everyone's looking forward to that.
Yeah, we'll talk more about that maybe after we get off the call with Drew. But
Yeah.
There's a lot of excitement coming on there.
So what would you say, I know you've been throwing some discs for the last few months now. Has it been a tough transition, or are you finding everything that you need? And then the follow-up to that is it all going to be within DD's specific lineup, or will you have a little bit of flexibility with the other lineups that are involved, Trilogy family, as they call it?
I'll be able to throw the whole Trilogy lineup. I'll be able to throw Latitude, West Side, and Discmania, Dynamic Disc. I don't know why I do that every time. But, so I'll be able to do all 3 of those. I know. And then I'll have a open bag for that. And then hopefully I'll be working with McCabe to get more dynamic discs in my bag as a whole. I was talking to him about what other molds I can throw to utilize their discs more.
Okay. Now, what have you gravitated toward already?
I like the Saint. I like the Spark. The Enforcer is a really good disc. Those are just the 3 staples that are in my bag so far. I like the Judge.
Yep. Now, I've got to say, I mean, I don't know if I'm vying for a spot on the team just yet, but I think I was throwing a trespass like nearly 400 feet this weekend. I borrowed somebody's in Maricopa. And it was almost 400, so I'm just saying, hit me up. Hit me up. 400. So, but I did have a chance to throw a number of discs. I wasn't playing at all. I wasn't going to, and everyone's like throwing discs at me. and I borrowed Hobbs' Trespass, and I fell in love with it. I really enjoy it. So it's probably too understable for you, though.
That's one mode I haven't tried yet. I haven't. Eric told me that I'd maybe enjoy it. So did a couple other people here. So I haven't quite checked out that mode yet.
And what about mid ranges? Have you dialed anything in yet?
Right now I'm using the Mace, the Bard, and the Evidence. So I'm only using 3 molds, but tomorrow I'm gonna go through the factory with Eric again and try to get some more different dynamic disc molds in there.
All right. Now, you spoke of the 2 disc challenges. You spoke of clinics. Does that mean we're going to see you pretty much on tour full time, or are you going to somewhat head home to check in every once in a while, or how intense is your schedule going to be?
To be honest with you, we haven't quite figured all that out yet. I'm not going to Europe. It seems like a lot of those bigger tournaments there overlap with the national tours here, which are kind of a bummer.
Sure.
But so I'll be doing a lot on the dynamic disc RV. I'll be doing a lot of stuff with them. So I mean that's big things to look forward to. I'm not going to be traveling overseas this year.
Okay. Well, and we've talked about it before with all the different tours that are going on. It's tough to make that investment to travel over there with all those expenses. So I can understand them if it makes more sense. And if you feel you can be more productive here with all the extras you're doing, that makes perfect sense. Is there any particular event that you're looking forward to this year? Anything more than another?
I mean, I'm looking forward to glass blowing just because I'm going to be a big part of that whole event. Today I got the understanding we might do something with the kids. We might do, there's going to be big opportunities there for Eric and I and anybody else that's going to be involved. So that's going to be fun. I always enjoy Masters Cup, Beaver State Fling. Those tournaments are always fun to look forward to. Obviously, the World Championship will be here as well. So, there's plenty of big things happening this year.
All right. Now you got, is that EMAC next to you? I don't know if you can, if we can, I don't know how wide the shot is there that you have, Johnny. We can scoot him in just a little bit. All right, there we have EMAC.
Get comfy, boys.
Of course, 50% of the Disc Golf Answer Man. Are you more than 50% because you have more answers, or?
Well, I'd like to clarify something. 50% doesn't really work since we have 3 people involved on the Disc Golf Answer Man now.
With Paige now, yes,
Paige
correct.
Bjarkis.
Okay.
Yes.
Is she officially a staple? Is she going to be there every week from here on out when she's not home?
Yeah, absolutely.
I hear a name change then is in order.
Disc Golf Answer people?
Sure.
Politically correct or what?
Yeah.
You're going to have to do something.
Now, well, my question is, did I hear correct that that Doug Bjarkis is moving to Emporia?
Doug Bjarkis is moving to Emporia.
Oh, nice. And so that means maybe Paige won't be going back to Colorado for break, so she'll be able to join you all summer
She'll go
long.
across town.
Yeah, just
She'll
go right across town
to see her family. So.
Very nice.
Wow, so the DD family. What was that? I'm sorry.
Oh, he said he's really hot in this room. We wanted to take his shirt off for you.
Oh, nice. See, the funny part is, he's so young, he's not even considered a man yet. He's the Disc Golf Answer boy.
I suppose that's true.
Yeah, I mean,
It's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. He's got lots of years in him to play. Eric is the Disc Golf Answer old man.
Oh,
Yeah.
What about Bobby?
Oh, Bobby's just like a senior citizen.
Bobby. So clearly, with the help of Bobby and Eric, yourself, and now the new things you guys are going to be doing with Drew, give us some insight or some exciting things that we might see on a media side. For things that you guys might be working on. Obviously, there's been the show, the podcast. Anything else you guys have in the works?
All kinds of stuff.
Okay, that sounds good. Legs.
How do you hold that much weight? That's always the question.
What kind of stuff do we have going?
Now that you've got Drew and other team members, what kind of media plans do you have for these guys, Bobby?
Oh, all kinds. I mean, if you guys, pay attention to our Facebook page, you'll see, we do the Is This Disc Right For You videos. And
Yep.
a lot of the PDGA question rules videos, and then some of the, like today we posted a Miles Seaborn doing a Scooby or grenade shot, whatever you want to call it. So we want to do a lot more of those videos for people to be able to learn about different disc golf shots. And we're going to definitely utilize a lot more of our team players to do those types of videos. I know that the Is This Disc Right For You videos are very popular because people get to learn how, comparing myself, how I throw it or Eric throws it, but now we want to go even deeper and show to people how they can actually take our discs and they can shape different shots. And so we're going to get a lot of our pros to help people out. So they, we know that the online shopping is a big, big thing for a lot of people. And so we want to help those people make better decisions by watching our videos and knowing which particular discs they need to pick for their arsenal.
Yeah, those videos, is this disc right for you? Those are some of my favorite. I think those are some of the more useful videos that are out there on the internet right now. They're very nice.
Yeah, so we're going to go a lot deeper with those and getting our disc and showing you how you actually shape different shots, how you throw them on different holes and things like that to help the people even better know which discs are right for them.
Now, would you say it's fair that even a disc that Drew throws versus what you throw, EMAC, would you say that those might be two totally separate discs or different discs when you're doing a segment even like that, even though you're both professionals?
Depending on the disc, I would say probably. It very well could. He throws probably like the Enforcer a lot different than I would throw the Enforcer. So I mean, Drew throws further than, 90% of the people out there. So absolutely. And I only throw further than 20%. I mean, that's...
now, let's be real here. I think, as they say, keep it 100. Drew, you've been working on your putting, and EMAC is a world champ and one of the best putters in the game. Are you going to be helping him out?
Are you helping me?
Yeah, absolutely. You wait. This is going to be the year of the Gibson.
Wow. That's scary.
Yeah.
The year of Gibson.
Year of Gibson. Don't judge him.
What do you feel like is the number one thing that you want to work on, Drew? Obviously you're learning the new disc, but in terms of your game, what's the number one thing you want to work on this year?
Putting. I mean, you can always be a better putter. I mean, whether you make them all inside the circle, 40 feet, wherever it is, I mean, there's always improvement on the putting green. Nobody makes 100% of their putts. I mean, there's stats to prove it. We've all played with everyone, There's a lot of great putters, Ricky, Macbeth. I mean, this guy next to me, maybe even Bobby on his good day. But, no one makes every single putt. So, I mean, there's the improvement right there. I mean, you can throw it 25 feet all day. If you miss 3 of them, I mean, you're losing strokes.
Awesome. EMAC, what do you see as your company continues to evolve? You're bringing in more players. I had a very frank conversation with Felberg this weekend. Latitude's incredibly aggressive with going out and getting players. DD doesn't have as many players, but a big pickup with Drew. Where do you kind of see things going with the team?
Well, in the past, we've always been more of the family atmosphere. We like to know a player before we just throw them on the team. And it's the same with Drew. I mean, Rusko and I both know Drew very well. And he, no matter how good of a player he is, he'd still have to be, growing the sport in other aspects, not just dominating the disc golf course. So that's a big part of being on Team DD, being part of our family. You never know. You never know what 2016 may bring.
Wait a minute, that sounds familiar.
What? I don't know what you're talking about.
I was going to say, is there any other exciting news or things that are in the works that you want to give us a little tease on or announce here?
Juniors.
Yeah, we've got some juniors coming out. We'll be announcing those come draft day. National signing day is coming up next month, and you can there'll be some pretty solid players added to that list. Drew's a junior player as well. He's junior age, so he's one of them. But yeah, I mean, you never know. We don't really have any other big announcements at this time, except we have some great discs coming out in the near future. And
Tell us about them.
Here.
Yeah, rattle through some of those new discs. We had Rusko on about probably 2 months ago already, talking about just the names of the discs. But can you give us a little more detail about them?
I can. We're coming out with the defender. It's going to be a high-speed, overstable driver. I think this is going to be something Drew is going to really love. It's going to be a staple in his bag, I'm going to imagine. We have it's our year to do the putter for the Trilogy Challenge, so we're coming out with a disc called the Marshall. It's going to be a straight to stable putter. It's going to be really nice. It'll probably hopefully fit nicely in my bag. We have a disc called the Proof. It is a easy to throw disc. The Proof and the Gavel. The putter is the Gavel. The mid-range will be the Proof. This is geared more for beginners, juniors, players that have slower arms, maybe some older players getting into the sport. Basically easy to throw, just like it says. So
Awesome. And now we saw the announcement. I know I watched Cool Daddy Slick Breeze on a Periscope and such a few weeks ago. Some bag action. There's going to be some new versions and some new bags that are going to reemerge.
Yep, some well, at least names. You know, we're bringing the Sniper name back. It's such a great bag, great bag name at least. It's going to be the more of a lower end price as far as a backpack style bag goes. We also have the Commander. It's the Commander is a bag that I'm pretty excited about. I think it's going to blow the market up pretty big because I think a lot of people are going to really like that. About what, $110 market, something right around there. 120. And the Ranger H2O. That's really all you need to know about that one. It's going to be excellent. And all three of these new bags are still produced by OGO.
OGO, yes. And you guys have a great relationship with them, and it was awesome seeing them at the Glass Blown Open next year. Are they going to be back this year to check out the madness?
Is that a serious question?
Okay. I guess they will be. So, Drew,
are they not the official sponsor? The official
bag and
apparel sponsor of the.
So they're going to come watch.
Glass Blown Open.
Maybe play. All right, Drew. We're going to get back to you here. A couple questions on the board. Someone wants to know any specific off-season training. Of course, you're going to be practicing your putting. You're going to be learning some discs. Do you do any other off-season type things, whether they be workouts or exercises or anything else?
I don't do anything disc golf specific per se. I mean, I'll play basketball to keep the cardio up, just for more of health than it is a training aspect. Normal workouts that I try to keep in touch with on the on season while we're playing, but it's tough working out Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, then trying to practice Thursday, Friday, play Saturday, Sunday. I mean, for the first half of the year, it works fine. And then, as you get into traveling more and more and more, it becomes more of a chore than it does benefit, if you ask me. I know, like, Ulibarri and I will work out, or I know Macbeth stays on top of it, but at a certain point during the year, it becomes where it slows down for all of us.
And speaking of traveling, of course, the question everybody wants to know is, we'll see you out on the Pro Tour and probably the National Tour. You're going to make it a point to be at all of those?
Yeah, I think I'll play. I mean, I can't really think of any of those events that I'll be missing for the 2016 season. I'll be at the first Disc Golf World Tour event as well, but the rest of I'll play USDGC as well, obviously, which is considered part of that tour.
Yep.
But other than that, I won't be participating in any of those other ones. But I'll be on the National Tour for sure. I'll be playing all the big A tiers except for the weekend of the Bowling Green. I'll be everywhere.
So
right.
Dana mentioned earlier about some new, not say rule changes, but ratings changes for some of the stroke and distance. How do you guys feel about that? You and EMAC are, some of the most toured players lately. Is that something that you agree with?
I don't know.
I'm all for it.
Oh, were you? Oh, basically, Dana's saying that if they're stroke and distance, the rounds that you play can't be used anymore for your rating. So things like USDGC, they would have to be an unrated round. You'll still get points, you'll still get all the other stuff, but the round itself won't be rated, or it'll have to be an unsanctioned event. So any event that uses stroke and distance will no longer be rated as of this year. EMAC's giving a thumbs up for those audio listeners. So,
Yep.
All right.
I think Drew's on board with that. Drew, give us a highlight of your 2015 season.
I played consistent. I mean, I won the A tier at the end of the year in Arizona, the Shelley Sharp Memorial, which is on the same course as the Memorial Vista. So that was probably a good end of the season. But all year, I mean, there wasn't one event that really stood out more than the other besides for that one. You know, just playing consistent and being in the top 10, top 15, top 20 every weekend, you know, give yourself opportunities to learn and win is what I chalked up last year up to. I mean, I didn't have the best year anyone's ever had, but I definitely learned a lot and grew as a player from the competition that I was involved in.
And now you've been really fortunate. You've got obviously a great group of friends here in our Frisbee family. You know, I've seen you traveling around with the likes of Pierce or Macbeth, Yulee and Kat. I mean, you've got a really good, diverse group of friends that you travel around with. This year, you're going to be in an RV more often than not. Do you think there's going to be any kind of strategy change or difference in how you either prepare or what you're doing?
I think this year's going to be more based for like the clinics and stuff like that. It's going to be more of, Monday morning we're going to wake up and we're going to do 2 clinics and a 2-disc challenge instead of we're going to go drive to the next course and play for 5 days. So it's going to be more growing the sport and growing the game, you know, growing everything based than it will last year where it's okay, well, here's Monday, we're going to drive 9 hours and then Tuesday we're going to play. This year's going to be more of, okay, let's do 3 clinics and let's do this and let's run a 2-disc challenge.
So one of the questions that's come in is talking about you're obviously a West Coast guy. Here you are in Emporia. Is that weather your style or not?
I love it.
Crying all
Yeah,
day.
love it.
Like the ice today.
I don't think I have warm enough clothes for this place. Like I don't own them. They make them. These beautiful folks behind me have them, but I don't own them. I don't even know what to wear outside. Luckily, from the warehouse to Rusco's car is like 15 feet. So otherwise, I might die.
Anything else exciting that you want to share with us there, Drew?
I mean, just this opportunity in general is pretty exciting. I mean, I'm happy to be a part of what they have going on here, not only for the company, but just the tournaments that they run, everything that they've done throughout the years when Rusco was almost on his own. You know, what he's done from day one is pretty impressive. So just to be a part of something like this is pretty amazing.
It is. It's very cool. We've seen, obviously, not just the glass blown, but throughout all of these years, hearing about the tournaments, hearing DE, seeing them grow, you know, doing the discs and then the apparel and then sponsoring players and then obviously all the way into the disc manufacturers and the bags and all of it. It's just been amazing growth to see. And we want to say, thank you to Rusco for giving us the opportunity to be involved with what you guys have going on because we're excited about it here at Smashbox as well. EMAC? Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, Rusco is hiding back there. He's kind of hiding behind
I
EMAC.
was just going to say, I want to give the open floor. Is there anyone else in the background that has anything to chime in with or to add or input to anything here tonight? Share with their family?
Is that Dixon back there? I can't tell.
You
All
may
right.
have heard of him.
Dixon, we're looking for a commentator, so come on. No.
We're excited to see you guys at Glass Blown Open. Glad Bobby got that arranged with you, and looking forward to a great year.
Awesome. Thank you, buddy.
Hi, Dixon.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, Dixon.
Hey, right there.
Is it beard? Is it the cold weather that makes you guys just grow all the beards over there right now, or?
I didn't shave. I didn't shave this morning, and I haven't been home yet, so
Oh, yeah.
it's kind of happened.
I don't know what that's like.
EMAC, Dixon, you guys got anything you need to chime in with before we let everyone go for the night?
No, thanks for giving us this opportunity. We're excited to teach this kid how to play disc golf and see what he can do this year.
All right, sounds good. Well, with that being said, I think we're going to let half the DD family there go. I know they've got, if there's, 10,000 people in Emporia?
27. Come on, man.
Okay, 27,000 with about 19,000 working at DD right now. So it's awesome to see the community and so much involvement and everything that you guys are doing. And like we said, we're just privileged to be part of what you got going on, and we look forward to seeing you guys soon.
All right, thanks for the opportunity, Terry.
All right, guys, take care. Drew, EMAC, everyone else, thank you guys so much for joining us. Do we have another disc to give away there, Johnny? I think we do. Or Drew, can you show everyone the other disc? What do you got there?
The Evidence. It's my understable mid-range.
All right. Do we have a question? Is the next question?
No, I think we were only given 2 questions. So Drew,
one
you
of
wanna-
those didn't go so well.
Yeah.
On our part, not on Bobby's part.
Oh no,
All
I'm gonna blame Bobby because he just put classic putter, and I wasn't aware that was the judge. So
Okay, so here's my question to these guys. Quick, has a winner of poker been determined tonight?
Yes.
All right.
That was
So-
the first out. If
He was the
that's
first one out.
question.
Okay, hold on.
Thanks. Adam Searle won.
That was gonna be the question, but thanks.
Okay, well, there was 2 games, so do this. Ask the
All right. There were 2 games. EMAC, I need you to send me a text with the right answer here, if you can, real quick,
All right.
as soon as you can. Or somebody send me a text with the right answer so that when I see it come up on the board, then we'll be able to call it. All right. So we're working in a time void delay here of all of like 10 seconds. So I'm going to get the answer. Send it to me privately. Go ahead and EMAC, name everyone that's in the room so everyone's got a fair chance.
Okay, right. All right. We have Drew Gibson. We have Eric McCabe, Bobby Brown. We have Adam Searle. We have Dixon Jowers. We have Jeremy Rusko, Jamie Rusko, and Street Cred Chris Edson.
Yes.
All right. So, starting now, the last person to make an entry here, Jordan Walker, quit answering or putting him in there. So we're going to start. No, we can't do that because everybody's already throwing names in there, so that's not going to work. Dang it.
Oh, everyone's wrecking it for you, Tara.
Yeah, they already wrecked it. That was my fault for announcing it ahead of time. All right. How about this? Drew's going to...
Drew's going to think of a number between 1 and 20.
I was just going to say something similar. I'm going to think of a number. Screw it. I'm going to think of a number between... Drew, how many discs you got in your bag? Your new bag?
18.
Give me a number between 1 and 18, and whatever I have is the right answer.
Wow.
This is solid.
That is some solid giveaway action right there.
They win.
Wow.
Between
We're
1
gonna
and 18.
we're gonna get this
I
down by the
see it.
time we get to episode 100. Let me tell you that.
No, here we go. Nobody's got it yet. There's been 40 guesses. Oh my gosh. How has no one guessed this number?
1.
18.
Nope.
So right
There
now
it is. Hey, I saw it. Sean Connell.
He-
You win the last one, Sean.
he did. Well, I guess that makes shipping easier.
There it is. Sean Connell has the number.
That's a discount for DD right there. He's getting 2 pieces of plastic.
Saving you guys money. All right, we're going to let you guys go. Thanks for another amazing giveaway opportunity. We appreciate all the support, and we'll talk to you guys soon.
Thanks, guys.
Take care.
See you soon.
Throw some D's on it.
All right.
All righty, Johnny. That was...
the interview itself was great. Those giveaways were rough.
Yeah. One of these days, we will dial it in.
Wow. I mean, we just had
As Drew was quoted, this is horrible. Referencing her.
that was definitely rough.
Hey, there's a non-sarcastic comment coming in saying solid giveaway action, guys. I'm going to take that as not sarcastic. Anyway. All right. So, again, thank you to DD, obviously, for joining us here tonight, but also further support.
And giving us the opportunity to go out there I was going to say this summer, but it's late spring for crying out loud, and broadcast the GBO live. So, you heard it here first that we are going to be the live broadcast crew at the GBO.
That's awesome. We had obviously the opportunity last year. We were kind of brought in as bonus coverage to tackle the second card with just a single camera. That's where we happened to get the Billy Engel ace. And that was one of my corrections. They were talking on the Disc Golf Answer Man. They were talking about where it was and where it debuted on ESPN. And Johnny, you and I were there in a local bar when it first debuted the very first time.
Yeah, we talked about that right after the show, how we were sitting at... We specifically heard it might be on there, so we went, you and myself and DG... I think DG Mike was there, and Dana.
Yep, Dana.
And there was somebody else there that night as well, because there was
A couple other people,
and just waiting to watch it on ESPN. And honestly, I hope we get to do that again this year. I hope we get to catch some fantastic shots that will make it in the national spotlight.
Yeah, so it debuted at number 2 on ESPN. By the second time it played, it went to 3,
Yeah,
and then
I remember
later
there was a triple play which knocked us down one. So
yeah, so it was awesome that we were part of that. Congrats, Billy, obviously doing the real work out there. But it was super good that we had that opportunity. And we're looking forward to being back this year. We're going to ramp it up. We're going to have at least one more camera. I'm going to be talking with Dixon and see if we can make something work on a commentary side of things. Clearly, he does way better than me. Everyone tells us, so I'll make him do more work.
That's
what I'm doing. How's that?
Just order him around. That's better. You can now be management and just yell at him. I'm
not sure it's going to work quite that way, but. Johnny, also, as he's chimed in on the board, I got the chance to meet Dirty Dan, the MU fan, this weekend.
Oh, did you?
He was out at Maricopa. Yeah, he came up, introduced himself, so I got to meet him, and that was a good time out there. We see people just now chiming into our board. So we're going to be wrapping up here. I've actually got to wrap up in the next few minutes. I'm going to have I've got some other stuff I got to run off and get done here, but it's just an awesome weekend and great news by Drew. So to clarify for everyone out there, though, when we worked with DD, he originally, Cool Daddy Slick Breeze had reached out, said, hey, we've brought Drew onto the team. We'd like to have you guys interview him and get it out there a little bit more. So we knew all along that today they'd be announcing it. So if you think we got scooped, well, we kind of already knew that they were going to be putting it out there, and we're glad they did so. And check out everything that DD's been working on. In terms of what they're doing with Drew and the new man.
Yeah, I'm asking to see if Chuck is still out there. He kind of wanted to join in and maybe talk, but you know what? Do we have anyone playing for next week yet?
I very explicitly at length talked about having Dave Feldberg.
Okay, I wasn't sure if Feldberg was locked in or not.
No, I'll admit he is not locked in. I simply have reached out to him, and hopefully he can make it work. He didn't get back to me yet. It was a kind of a short notice thing, so I don't know yet. I'm guessing if he can make it work, he definitely will be locked in, and we'll be glad to have him. But and that's not to say we couldn't have Feldberg, and then maybe shortly after that have Chuck Kennedy on, and still have him give us the scoop and whatnot. So
yeah, I don't see. I put a post out there, and I don't see Chuck chiming in. So I know if I say his name one more time, he pops up. So he's like Beetlejuice.
Exactly. I'm going to chime in and let everyone know we appreciate the support. I personally cannot be around for an after show. If Johnny Veed wants to administer that's going to be on his own, working with the fans directly. But I've got to run. I'm being treated to a show here in a little bit, so I'm going to be logging off here shortly.
What kind of show are you going to go see? You said it earlier.
It's kind of like a hypnotist / magician act, I guess, and. Someone's treating me, so glad to take in some of the sweet action wherever I travel. So,
well, you know what? Maybe I'll let you go, and I'll have Chuck chime in because he's out here and he's available. So we'll bring Chuck on.
And whether you call that the after show or keep the show rolling, good stuff. It'll be weird not being there, but you got this under control.
I got this under control. So Chuck, please go ahead and send a request out to Smashbox TV's Skype. And we'll get you on here. I don't know if I don't think.
Yeah, I'm sure you can make that work. I would like to chime in regarding the coverage because I have not been home. I've hardly even touched a computer since being at the Maricopa Meadows Open. There hasn't been any footage posted just yet. Of course, I'm going to try and get that. I travel back to Wisconsin late tomorrow night, and I've already got a few things in the works for trying to get the editing rolling, and I'm going to try and move that out very quickly. As quickly as I can, but again, there were rounds of 27 holes. I'll probably break it up into like a 13 and 14 hole segment so that we can have it'll be a little bit more easy to digest. But it'll get out there. Tons of people are asking about it. Feldberg, Barella, Ulibarri, all these great players in this great event, and so I'm going to do it justice and get it out there. However, I haven't touched it yet, so please be patient. We certainly appreciate it. I do have a working computer for now, but that's going to get shipped out under a warranty, and that's a whole nother mess for another day. And yes, I believe now 7 weeks Mountain Dew free. I think it's 7 weeks.
Congratulations on that.
I'll just keep making stuff up since people keep asking. Somebody said I was a little jacked up when I was talking about the Maricopa event, and somebody asked if I had fallen off the wagon and was on the dew, and I jokingly said I drank a 6-pack of 24 ounces today, but I really didn't. I'm good. All right,
glad.
folks. Johnny, you're going to stick around?
I'm going to stick around. We will. We'll call this after showtime. So let's sign it out, and then I'm going to get Chuck on, and we'll kind of just have maybe a brief discussion about some of the updates the PDGA is putting out there and get his spin on things.
Oh, I can't wait to tune in later and check it out and see how it went.
Yeah, you
and
won't
chuck
know.
it out. Hey-o. All right, so for all of our amazing guests tonight, we had Dana Mitvicci with the updates. We had, of course, Drew Gibson, the newest Dynamic Disc team member, and all of the Dynamic Disc crew over there hanging out, playing poker, having a good time, including Eric McCabe, Cool Daddy Slick Breeze, both of Disc Golf Answer Man. And for Johnny V and myself, Terry Miller, the Disc Golf Guy, this has been podcast episode number 70. Stick around, stay tuned. Johnny V is going to have Chuck Kennedy on to talk about stroke and distance and some other things. But we'll see you guys next time when you step inside the Smash Box.
Hey, we're back.
All right. Hey, I'm still here.
You're still here.
After show.
I'm getting. All right, the after show is.
Drop a mic. I've got a mic here that I brought along for the trip. Should I?
Yeah.
Should I drop it and then walk out, or close the lid? I don't know how to sign out of the show. Hello.
Just like that. I've wanted to do that for so long. Oh my gosh, is that fun? I just got to boot Terry off the show. Whew. So, welcome to the after show. This is kind of unique in that I am going to be basically doing this quick little after show without Terry Miller. I'm going to bring Chuck Kennedy on the line, and we're going to get him all dialed up. I'm ringing him up now, and that was so quick. So quick, Chuck. You are on the ball. All right. Chuck, you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. I'm going to put you here in the Terry Miller box, but you're not Terry Miller by any means. You are. Trust me, I've seen Terry Miller's checkbook. I'm sure your accounting skills are 10 times better than his. So earlier we were talking with Dana, and Dana brought up the changes to the I guess we'll call them the rules as far as sanctioning and having stroke and distance and having it be rated. What is it? You were clearly part of that and part of that decision making. Can you tell us a little bit about what's going on with that?
Well, this has been an issue that's been percolating for a while. A lot of people don't remember, and they can go and check the stats for the 2011 USDGC. We didn't do ratings there when there was extensive throw and distance. And as a result of that, the rules were changed in the 2013 update to where they currently are, where you need to get a waiver. Now, because the island holes have been, around for a while and started by the USDGC, the reason for the waiver was primarily for TDs who might want to do an island type hole. And that was the expectation by Big Dog. And if you recall, he came in at a later point after Dave Gentry. So there was kind of a transition period when this was happening.
Sure.
And so Big Dog's been pretty much just sort of rubber stamping the waivers on the assumption that, the TDs were primarily going to be doing, say, one island hole. But it became clear over a period of time that TDs were going beyond that. And, of course, we had the big Ledgestone situation this last summer where, it's not really the fault of Nate in particular that he went, hog wild with it, because there was an expectation he had a waiver and that was going to be okay to do. But basically, throw and distance is not really a golf challenge element. What I mean by that is you're in ball golf, the only time they actually have a stroke and distance type penalty is when you have out of bounds
Okay.
or lost ball. So what you end up with is a situation where the course itself isn't really designed to have players take those types of penalties.
I turned off the video to you, Chuck, so you won't be able to see me because it looks like we're having just some Skype issues here. But go ahead.
Okay, just a sec. I've got it actually running on another computer that might get my signal better. Just a sec here.
Oh, sure. Yeah, we're gonna let Chuck transfer computers. It looks like he's just having just a little bit of Skype issues here. But yeah, so Chuck is going to join us. Chuck, this might be the first after show that's way more disc golf informative than our regular show. So we're happy we've been meaning to have Chuck on. We keep talking about it for weeks and weeks and weeks, and now finally we've actually got it happening here.
I'm back. Are you getting a better signal at this point?
Yeah, it seems fine right now. It was getting a little crunchy before, as we say, but I think you're doing pretty good.
Okay. So the point being, in regular golf, anybody who studies it, they don't really like to have what you would consider stroke and distance type penalties as part of the regular play. The idea is to actually move forward down the fairway, and if you can't play it where it lies, you take a penalty to take relief down in that general area. Of course, you always have the option to re-hit from the original lie if that's better for you, but you're not required to. And in general, you don't really design the course to have people potentially hitting out of bounds, true out of bounds, in other words, off the property, the way that they have it in ball golf. And nobody really designs for you to intentionally try to lose your ball or disc.
No.
So that's pretty much the, I guess, what you would consider the theory, behind course design with regard to that. And, I understand the impetus behind the throw and distance as a concept, because players have gotten so good, and the idea is that this would provide scoring separation or whatever. But the unfortunate thing is that what it turns out is that it may separate scores, but it does it in an unfair way, if you will. The thing that was really key, the rating system is predictable enough that for big events and events like Worlds, that you have over 90% correlation between the original ratings of the players and the final ratings that the players have in terms of finish position. I mean, it's that consistent.
Chuck, do you have Chuck, do you have the YouTube on in the background? I'm not sure.
Yeah, do I need to get that off?
Yeah, why don't you close the YouTube? We're just getting a little bit of feedback from that.
Okay.
So we can we'll just talk through Skype then.
There we go.
Perfect.
That better?
Yeah, that sounds great.
Okay. Yeah, so in essence, what it turns out is that throw and distance is really a different game. No different than if you were trying to do ratings for, say, mulligan, where you could take a mulligan on each hole, let's say. We don't do ratings for that, but we have those as X tiers. And, likewise, we don't do ratings for doubles. We don't do them for, say, a Stableford. And in essence, it's sort of like throw and distance is sort of going the opposite direction of mulligans. Mulligans, you get a positive benefit. Throw and distance, you get a negative benefit. And it's not that you can't calculate ratings. I mean, we can calculate them, but you have to understand that our rating system is based upon players who have ratings playing disc golf a certain way. And if you were to have people doing throw and distance penalties on, say, all of the NT events, on every hole, then it would be the same type of game.
Okay. Well, some people are asking, if everybody has to play by the same rules, does it? I mean, in the long run, does it really matter, or is this just something to help with outliers?
No, I mean, like I said, my point was, would you consider it a legitimate round if on the 18th hole players were allowed to take mulligans?
Well, no, of course, not by the current rules that we play by. Of course not.
Exactly. Well, it's the same thing.
Sure.
I mean, essentially, what you have is, here's a better example. Let's just take some of our top players. Let's say that Macbeth and Wysocki on a random basis throw off line once out of every 4 throws.
Okay.
Let's say. And let's take the Northwoods course at the Ledgestone, where they had some of the fairways. I think 4 or 5 of them were lined on both sides with rethrow OB.
Sure.
So you have a situation where, in essence, a throw on distance is a 2-shot penalty, whereas if there wasn't any rope there and, say, Paul hit a tree and just dropped down, in one case, you have a 2-shot penalty. In the other case, he sort of has a 1-shot penalty.
Sure.
And so unless you have consistent penalties all the way around, in other words, basically anytime you land in the rough, it's a throw and distance penalty on every hole, you have sort of a random flukiness brought into it where Paul happened to have his bad throw on a hole that didn't have the rope, and Wysocki had the bad throw on the one that had the rope. You understand?
Of course. Yep.
It's a consistency of penalties. It would be sort of like, all of a sudden in basketball, between the 7th and 5th minute of the first quarter, 3-pointers counted as 4-pointers.
I was just at a Globetrotters, and they had a 4-point circle. So I would like to think that we're a little bit more. I'd like to think that we're a little bit more respectable than the Globetrotters, but.
Well, right. Well, but I'm not saying, that a 4-point circle wouldn't be legit for basketball. I'm just saying that all a 4-point line at a random point during the game.
Yeah.
Is sort of the equivalent of that. So, like I said, it's not so much that throw and distance is a bad game in and of itself. It's just a different game.
Sure.
Those people have been around for a while. You know that when we introduced the Superclass disc back in 2009, we actually had separate ratings for Superclass. Now, frankly, Superclass ratings paralleled regular disc golf ratings pretty closely, once we calculated them, but we thought it was a different enough thing that we decided that we would do separate ratings. It's sort of the same thing here. I'm not necessarily against doing ratings for throw and distance, but they would actually be separate ratings from your regular PDGA rating.
Has there been any talk about having separate ratings for your league rounds? I know there are league rated rounds, and one of the arguments around here is we maybe have a particular player who plays a particular course extremely well, but you take him off that course and he plays, he may be a 950 rated golfer, but he plays this particular league very well every week. Is there any talk about changing that?
Not so much changing it, but first of all, we did a study with thousands of rounds. What we did is we took every player in our database for 3 years that the leagues have been around, and we only looked at players who played both tournament rounds and league rounds. Okay? So each player in the study played at least 10 league-rated rounds and 10 tournament rounds.
Okay.
And it turned out that there was a slight difference. 48% of the players shot better in league, and 52% of the players shot better in tournaments. So a lot closer than I think a lot of people out there that have had issues with leagues, might have thought.
Yeah.
But in the long run, we had a technology conference back in June where Steve Gans, Andrew Sweeten, Teo Posey, my partner Roger, the ratings partner Roger, and I got together talking about the future and trying to move the rating system online sometime down the road. And one of the things that will happen in there is to separate out tournament and league ratings.
Okay.
So that's in the works. It's a little more complicated to do it now while we're still sort of in the manual process of TD reports. But, by fits and starts, we're trying to move forward and get things on the web, down the road. But there's certainly a lot of work. Last year, I processed about 1,600 TD reports. And believe me, there are all kinds of mistakes and I wouldn't necessarily, a lot of the stuff isn't necessarily mistakes, but TDs use the reports in a variety of ways, which is great, that go beyond, what we've provided. They'll add extra columns for tracking sizes of t-shirts, let's say.
Yeah.
And so what happens is, we've got certain import processes where columns need to be in the right place. So one of my jobs is to, get the report back in an uploadable format for the PDGA databases, for example.
Well, and then are you also the one that goes through and checks? One of the things that we've run into is, when different divisions play different pads, that can really throw off a TD, maybe especially one who's not experienced. I've worked with Terry long enough to know that he's very particular about that. If he has, even one group play one different pad, that can completely throw off your entire TD report.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, all these things are complicated issues, and it's going to be a major task trying to get the TD report online and provide the kind of flexibility that people have in Excel. And thing about it is, you don't always have a good web link, on the various properties where you're running a tournament. So
Sure.
We'll need offline capabilities still, like we do now with the TD report. So it's a challenging process, with regard to that. But I guess my point, with getting back to your original question, with regard to leagues, the thing that is frustrating for players a lot of times is they see the course rating typically 1 to 2 shots lower for leagues than for tournaments on what's the same layout. And what we've determined is that basically that's tournament pressure.
Okay.
That's something, that's how sensitive the rating system is. When we've gone through probably 250 leagues that we've looked at, there's not a single case where the league SSA is higher than the tournament SSA for the same layout.
Really? Okay.
Now, statistically, that's an impossibility unless there's actually something to it. And essentially, there's a certain element to it. Just think about it. I mean, how many people, watch the top field goal kicker in the league this year shank a 27-yarder for the Vikings to go home?
Ouch! Yeah, you being a Minnesota guy, I'm sure you saw that. I don't know. Is that your particular team? I thought you were a Browns fan.
Both. Yeah, I
Okay.
follow the Browns, and I also follow what is the Vagabond Rams.
Yeah. So
Who
basically,
are now heading
you're a
to
glutton.
LA.
You're a glutton for punishment, is what you're saying. Really, the teams
Well,
that you picked.
when you take a look at least up until the Vikes this year, it's been pretty sad. Of course, being from Cleveland originally, I'm a long-suffering, whatever Cleveland team fan.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah. That's.
But
Yeesh.
but I guess my point is that everybody recognizes that people choke under pressure, or that pressure matters in sports competitions. You have examples of it left and right. The field goal kicker, is the most obvious recent one. But even in ball golf, making a putt or whatever. And the thing is, we're talking about only a few percentage points different.
Yeah.
but it's enough to be noticeable. And, of course, because
So.
Yeah, there you go. If that only really worked.
Yeah. Now, one of the complaints you hear, and you hear a lot of the top pros say it, that the ratings don't matter to them because, obviously what really matters is the W's and the money. But you also hear a lot of, mid-tier players complain, as you said, about between 1 and 2 points as far as accuracy of ratings. How often, or have you recently gone in and tweaked the formula or anything like that? Has that been something you're constantly looking at?
Well, we're looking at, the formula itself has been locked down. The actual round rating formula has been pretty much locked down. What has changed over the years is how we actually calculate your rating in terms of aggregating your round ratings.
Okay.
So, and really, that can be done in whatever way that you wish to do it. I mean, it's pretty much what do you want to emphasize? We currently have the double weighting your most recent 25% of your rounds, and that's a nod to the fact that there are probably more players, especially with the growth in the sport, that are on the upswing than on the way back down, like myself. The older players.
Is it always the most recent 25, or does that fall off after a year? For someone like myself now, who's, I used to play between 20 and 30 events. I'm down to 3 events a year. My, the last 3 events, for me, 20% is 1 event. And
right. The double weighting doesn't start till you have 10 rounds.
Oh, okay.
So if you only have 6 rounds, I'm pretty sure that Roger doesn't do any double weighting until that. And of course, that a propagator is a player whose ratings based on at least 8 rounds.
Okay.
So the propagators are the ones that actually generate the ratings.
Ouch! I'm not even a propagator anymore. That hurts.
Oh man, yeah. For example, some of the policies that we've got in there where, we drop rounds that are more than 100 points below your current rating. People have claimed, well, how come you don't, drop your best round? And, it's not a normal curve when you're talking about ratings, because you can manipulate your bottom number.
Mm-hmm.
You can't manipulate your top number.
Very true.
The day that you shoot your 1100 rated round is sort of a magical thing. You couldn't, maybe Macbeth can say I'm shooting an 1100 today, but on the top end, it's hard for you to manipulate, shooting better. However, you can totally manipulate the bottom end of the tail. So the reason we have that in there is sort of an anti-sandbagging thing.
Sure.
Where we can't tell for sure whether you're sandbagging or not, but what we can do is take a look at the probability that a round below a certain point is sandbagging as opposed to a normal statistical variation for you.
Yeah.
So that's the rationale behind that. And what it works out to is that, for players who aren't screwing around, you'd probably have about 1 in 50 of your rounds will get dropped, based on that. So it's not a lot of rounds, and by the way, the average PDGA tournament player only has 16 rated rounds in a year. So for the typical player.
Oh, Chuck's freezing up a little bit.
Round.
Oh, he might be coming back here. There we go. I think we're starting to get Chuck back. I think the cold weather is affecting your internet connection over there, Chuck.
Yeah, well, I'm on a Wi-Fi here. I think what I'll do the next time, I've got a little bit better background where I'm located here on Wi-Fi, but I think I can just set up my other room where I'm hardwired, and I'll do that the next time.
Yeah, that'd be great. Was there anything you had mentioned? Dana had brought that up, and you had said there was a few other things you wanted to talk about. Is that Is that all ratings related, or are there other things you wanted to kind of briefly bring up?
Well, there's a variety of things, whether we bring them up now or, maybe I should do it on a better connection,
Okay.
at another time. Dave is really big on the ratings, and
And
you said he might be on next week.
Yeah, Dave Feldberg.
That might actually be a good time for us to tag team on some things. Just as a note, Dave came up to me at the Hall of Fame tournament in September, and he specifically said, "So you're going to rate those, Ledgestone rounds?" He says, I know that you didn't rate the USDGC in 2011, and I said, "Well, I really would prefer not to, but it's one of those complicated political things, that we sort of had to get these policies squared away in advance so that we didn't have the, pull the rug out from people like we did for the U.S. But it was so bad that, we had to do it then. And so Dave's on top of it. And I think you saw Nate Doss post earlier. He's part of our game development team.
Yeah.
That he's for it and McCabe is for it. Most of your top pros feel that the throw and distance is a fluky type of a thing. They're not mad at it because it's challenging. They dislike it because of the flukiness factor.
Well, it seems like for them, and for anybody, 6 inches can mean a huge difference. We saw at the Ledgestone players, I believe it was hole 3 at the temp course. It was a matter of 6 inches, people going out of bounds, and now suddenly you have to go back 400 feet, and you're just getting, I hate to say repenalized, but you're right. It's almost as if you're getting 2 penalty strokes there.
Well, and the game development team, to some extent, has come about as a result of the what happened at the Ledgestone and discussions I had with Levon Wolf at the Pro Worlds in Pittsburgh. And so this idea had been percolating, and essentially the problem that disc golf has is our game is based upon negotiating vertical obstacles.
Yes.
That's what is the fun and interesting part of our game. And unfortunately, when you have tree sparse properties, we've been forced into doing these much more fluky and punitive type things with ropes. I mean, it's not that Harold was trying to be more punitive, or it's not just Harold. We'll call it the USDGC team.
Yeah.
They've been experimenting with ways to provide challenges when there aren't trees, and part of our challenge with the game development team is to see if we can come up with some ways to provide challenges. And of course, making putting tougher is, for the top level, not necessarily everybody else, is also on our, list of things to look at, So it's just sort of how the sport has evolved. And, designers were using, what they could think of to add challenge to the courses in areas where they didn't have enough trees to, really test people. For us, the ground surface doesn't matter too much. I mean, high grass versus, mowed grass doesn't really affect the shot too much. Maybe in some cases, if it's a real long shot where you maybe can't take as much of a run up, but primarily,
a roller
we're not challenged the same way as ball golfers.
Yeah, correct. And Dana brings up a good point in that one of the advantages of stroke and distance, so to speak, is if it's out, it's out. You don't have to worry about whether it crossed in bounds vertically. You don't have to kind of go up and guess and say, I think it got over ground here. It's just where the disc ends up. And then you go back to where you threw. So there is one advantage.
But as you point out, it's not a granular penalty. Yeah. And if you read my granularity article and maybe reread it now after we've had this discussion,
which I will
tomorrow, the goal is to have the penalty fit the crime, if you will. And a 2-shot penalty for, as you say, being 1 inch offline is too big.
Yeah.
It's too big of a penalty. Now, if it's what we're talking about here too, there's a big distinction between what you would consider fairway hazards versus out of bounds off the property, like in ball golf. It's perfectly legitimate to have a stroke and distance type penalty when you're completely thrown off the property, like they do in ball golf. But ball golf doesn't put throw and distance types of penalties as part of their game elements, if you will.
Yeah.
The bunkers, the sand bunkers, the rough, the water hazards. Every one of those has the ability to move forward, to the next position. In fact, if the water's shallow enough, you can even play it from there.
Sure.
There was a picture in my article of Bubba Watson playing the new water sand trap, if you will, over in, I think it was Japan maybe, where the sand trap was 1 inch deep of water. And so players could actually play from it.
Wow.
So, those are sort of innovations. And, you're not penalized for the shot that you made. You're penalized if you can't skillfully execute from that position.
Sure.
You see the difference between that?
Oh yeah, I mean, I was going to say one last thing before we let you go was look at hole 3 at USDGC where you're throwing down and it's not stroke and distance because it would be, it might be a pain to do something like that, but where you actually play it from OB with a penalty stroke. Is that going to change? Can the TD still do that?
That's the new hazard rule.
The new hazard rule.
And we're in favor of that as one possibility.
Okay.
Because it speeds up play. And by the way, I applaud Harold for making that change because I fought for that to be changed. For those who played USDGC, that had been a rethrow hole for quite a few years, maybe up until this year or the year before.
I think it's been 2 years, but yeah.
So Harold's part of the committee, and I know some people have thought Harold was spearheading this. Harold wasn't really spearheading this. All Harold's really spearheading is trying to find ways to challenge the players in a fair way, and that's really the bottom line on this thing is how can we challenge players. And we know that we're going to have more open courses for some of these big events because of potentially and hopefully spectators. By the way, that's one of my topics, for another time.
Yeah. And media. I mean, honestly, as much as I personally love to watch wooded shots, it's a pain to film them. And it is 100 times easier for us to stand out in the middle of a field and follow a disc than it is to follow one down a 300-foot tunnel. So,
and I think players prefer to actually play in the woods. To actually play there, and here we're forcing them out of the woods so that we can see them. So the idea is maybe we need to have them make the kind of shots, that they would normally have to make in the woods if they got into trouble. So these are just some of the ideas that we're playing with here so that, hey, look, if the game isn't interesting for the players to play, it's not going to be any more interesting than it already is, for people to watch.
Sure. Yeah,
I mean,
you're right.
The whole purpose behind this is to get people to watch, but, if the product itself isn't worth watching, what have you done?
Yeah, I think a lot of people complain about possibly the difficulty following the different rules of different holes and how it can make us look and makes us look ticky-tacky, so to speak. How one hole will have one rule, another hole will have a different rule, because we know spectators or people watching online, unless, the announcer mentions it, they're not going to have any clue. So I think eliminating some of that is going to help us out a little bit. It might just be a minor step in the grand scheme of things, but I think it's going to help.
Well, I agree. I mean, people say that first discover hockey. I think offsides with the blue line is something that they don't intuitively see right away as to what's going on or why all of a sudden they stop play. And, it's the same thing with an offsides in soccer. Those are sort of abstract kind of rules that, the aficionados know, but isn't necessarily obvious to the player, the way some things are, other types of rules are.
Yeah, I could never icing in out of not out of bounds in hockey, but yeah, like you mentioned, those were always ones that confused me. I'd play Nintendo
Exactly.
on it, and I'd get penalized every time. So.
Yeah, and how high does the stick have to be before you call a penalty? I mean, there's a variety of things like that, and I agree with you. Simplicity would help in the understanding.
Yep.
But the first thing is you have to get people interested enough to even go to your live broadcast.
Yeah.
What's gonna make the average person say, "Man, I can hardly wait. When is that broadcast?"
And that's,
So
yeah, off topic, but I think that's something that we're hoping to push this year with, doing the Pro Tour and GBO. We're going to have a more regular schedule come summer. So it'll be almost every 2 weeks we'll be able to advertise, as opposed to in the past where it's been like, I don't know, is it going to be a month from now? Is it going to be 6 weeks from now, our next broadcast? So getting more consistent, I think, will help with more viewers in general. Knowing that we are going to be back shortly will help boost our viewership this year.
Well,
I can hope.
You and Terry are in the center of the vortex with regard to survivability, I guess. I'm concerned about. I think my overriding concern is, as much as I'm involved helping with high level events, I'm still skeptical about their long-term viability. And what bothers me to some extent is the resources being committed towards that could have been, say, committed towards building the sport via building more courses.
Sure.
So, that's my, underlying concern with regard to it. But, hopefully people have seen over the years, I try to serve all players of all skill levels. I put in beginner type courses, and I put in championship type courses, and work at the world class level with with players. So they're all important to me. I guess I'm just concerned with maybe the overemphasis on just the tip of the spear right now, and the amount of resources being put in without actual measurables getting better.
Do you think we've started to see a saturation of courses in areas?
Yeah, I do.
Because
well,
we saw the graph that showed the Pro Tour put out saying, "Oh, when are we going to pass ball golf courses?" And ball golf, whether they like it or not, is slightly declining, and disc golf is still accelerating. But we can only maintain that pace for so long.
Well, I think it's going to be an interesting kind of dynamic, I think, because it's conceivable that the number of players will continue upward with a similar growth pattern.
Okay.
But the number of courses may not be increasing as much. Being part of the 200-member course designers group, you can kind of sense where, who's doing what projects and how many of them are going in.
Yeah.
And, while people tout pay for play as, the coming thing, I would agree that there probably, as a percentage, maybe more pay for plays coming into our future down the road. Mm-hmm. But the problem that I see is I'm not sure that pay for play just is this automatic slam dunk wherever you do it.
Oh no.
It's like you can almost get players wherever you put a free course.
Highbridge is a perfect example. I mean, it's a pay to play, I believe, and it's way in the middle of nowhere. It more or less is, hate to use the word, but it's failing as a disc golf mecca. I mean, we have people.
Well, and there's a variety of reasons for that. I think it could be more viable, but that's a whole nother topic that probably will never show up on Smashbox.
Probably not. Yeah.
at least not with me involved. I think it may be a situation where the free courses have to get so overcrowded in our major market areas that players finally are willing to pay high enough prices. Maybe right now I'd say probably the going rate seems to be like $5 to $7 a day.
Yeah.
For all you can play at a single 18, or say like at Blue Ribbon Pines here where it's 27.
Sure.
My thought is that probably closer to 15 a day, maybe more economically viable for course owners. That obviously owning the property in advance helps. I mean, and even if you had to buy property to put in a course, the one thing about property is most of the time you're not going to lose on it. As long as you can cover the property taxes, you more or less have an asset that probably is going to pay off and maybe even increase in value over time. So as long as you have the money for the property, you're not necessarily going to lose on it. But, there's employees and stock in the pro shop and getting enough sales and all that type of stuff. So
and then there's
I think there's going to be an interesting thing happen, and it's not going to happen all at once. It's going to happen in your major market areas first.
Sure. I mean,
I think your outlying areas are probably going to continue going nuts, and I also think with UC's action over in Europe and Disc Golf Park, I think that we may see faster growth over there. They have a much smaller base with which to show a percentage increase.
Yeah, and I was going to say, as far as purchasing land for disc golf, there's a fine line, as we've seen with High Stand, that purchasing land needs to be close enough to a population center, and the bigger your population center, the higher the price of land becomes. So there is a graph where somewhere there's a crisscross for that perfect spot. And in the Milwaukee area, particularly where we've all had our dreams and looked for land, it's tough to find anything within 30 miles of the city that you could put a disc golf course on, buy the land, and have a decent course to pay to play.
Exactly. So like I said, it's not that I'm throwing out a pessimistic note.
Oh no.
Well, maybe I am. The thing about it is that everything seems to have some sort of a correction at some point. We've been amazingly fortunate, for the growth that we've had over the time period, and just knowing what happened with ball golf and the changes that happen within cohorts of society. The baby boomers are different than the Gen Xers and are different than the millennials.
Mm-hmm.
In their purchase patterns and what they go about.
Oh,
and,
sure.
How those move through our economy and stuff are significant waves that can impact us in some way or the other. Fortunately, we're a low cost option. I mean, that's really been our key benefit, I guess, as an individual type sport.
Yeah, because you can really go buy a disc for $5 at Play It Again, and that's all you need. That's all the average rec player, so to speak, non-tournament player needs. So.
Yeah, and it's partly the reason I think soccer has thrived, especially in lower economic environments, because it's a soccer ball.
Yeah.
And you go play. You just need one, and so. We have elements of that. We're a little bit, significantly more structured, I guess, in terms of at least the play equipment that's required. But like you say, you can just, get a disc or two and be out there playing. And we know there's a bunch of guys out there doing that.
Go to your, mid-July, walk to almost any course and you'll see it. So.
Yeah. So, but like I said, I'm not negative on the future. I'm more cautious of watching trends go up, and I know just from talking with some of the manufacturers, especially those involved with targets. I'm pretty sure that they're getting more sales in terms of portable baskets and, to private properties, where they put baskets in on courses that aren't even intended for pay to play.
Yeah.
We know there's a bunch of courses like that. I'm sure any player out there probably has heard of somebody's, course that's on a farm somewhere or some property where, only his buddies go and play, type of thing. So,
Of course.
that I'm sure has fueled, some of the target sales. But in terms of public courses, like for example, let's say we get a lot of viewership. All of a sudden we've got 10,000 people excited to watch, one of our live coverages, and maybe 1,000 of them actually go to the event. Where that population is that we would get excited is probably going to be in, just statistically, major metro areas. The
Sure.
very areas where we can't actually put courses in to serve them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think.
You see what I'm saying? In other words,
Oh, yeah.
we do this awesome job. All of a sudden, we've got Taylor Swift out there playing disc golf, and pimping the sport for us, let's say.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody wants to get out there and play. And in New York City, they look around and, God, where we got to go? We got to go out to this little town called Warwick, or we've got to, go to. I'm camping the thick of it right now.
But don't they have the same, particularly New York? Don't they have the same problem almost with a regular golf course? Or I don't know the nearest golf course.
No,
in New York
apparently
City,
not.
so.
I mean, there are. That's the thing. Golf is able to have those kind of properties. I think, what is it? The Bethpage Black Course, I think, is pretty close to.
Is it?
Major population right there, where they've had U.S. Open.
Yeah, and we've got, as far as golf goes, we've got Whistling Straits up, 45 minutes north of Milwaukee in Sheboygan, and it sells out, and people from all over the Midwest go. They travel hours upon hours to go to these courses and watch. So, I mean, if we're starting to see 1,000 spectators at events, I feel like our viewership numbers will be they'll be more than 10,000, because I think you'd probably seeing more of the 20 or 25,000 range. But yeah, that'll be interesting. That'll definitely be interesting to.
Like I said, I'm just it's how do you accommodate success, really? I mean, all of a sudden, I'm sure UC was probably stunned by the what was it, around 240,000 people that watched in Finland.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, none of us really know what's available to watch in Finland.
Yeah, those numbers sound great.
The channel surfing there might be a little bit fewer than the kind of cable options we've got here. But I think it's impressive. And
it's very impressive.
The thing is, they've got a very homogeneous population. Psyche, I guess you will, in there. And so my suspicion is that fads of some sort are not uncommon. In other words, that it's kind of like, if this is cool, it spreads, among the population because of similar, ideas about life and what's fun and what's interesting. So, and look at how well, Wisconsin and Minnesota have done with our Scandinavian background, predominantly. So there's something to it. Who knows?
Yeah, no, that would be really interesting to look at the general nationality, your genealogy of different areas of the country, and see how if that relates to disc golf. If you've got larger Scandinavian areas versus Germanic versus Hispanic versus whatever, and see how, or if there's a correlation to the growth of disc golf in those areas.
Yeah, of course, Minnesota's long been known as one of the top regular ball golf areas too, surprisingly.
Yeah, and like I said, Wisconsin's
it's pretty
getting
amazing
there too.
When you consider the climate here.
Yeah, Wisconsin's getting there too with Whistling Straits and Erin Hills, which is I think where I forget if it's going to be the Ryder Cup, or I forget what's going to be there in like a year or two. But Wisconsin.
Well, we're going to be in Hazeltine here in Chaska on the. It's sort of one of the outer suburbs, near the Prince's studio.
Oh, okay.
Paisley Park.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, so it's an interesting thing. Of course, what disc golf has as a bonus is we can play disc golf in the winter, whereas they try occasionally, like at the Winter Carnival. They'll have. I remember first seeing this back when I moved here. They had like a golf in the snow tournament, and I went to it. I thought that was wild, and they had the big piece of yarn drawn through the center of the golf ball, and just like we do with the ribbons and the discs, so that they could find their ball, know.
I mean, the funny thing is, look at the explosion of foot golf in the past 10 years, or even 5 years for that matter. I've got a course, we've got a small municipal golf course a half mile from my house that now has a foot golf course on it. Before it had a disc golf course on it. And I don't know if we would get a disc golf course.
The foot golf is an interesting play. It started in Europe, and it's not surprising that it did well there because it's a soccer ball. Yeah. I mean, soccer is already, one of the more popular sports there. So having that crossover, you had a lot of people that were comfortable kicking the ball,
Sure.
I think it's a lot more diluted, in the United States. But apparently there's certain, places where the foot golf has caught on. Several of us in the designers group have said, we'll actually show them how to do a proper course design, because a lot of the foot golf layouts apparently are pretty lame.
Are they?
Lamer than they should be.
Sure.
For the property that they have, but that's because they're essentially following the flow of the ball golf course, which they have to. So.
Yeah, and I haven't had a chance to play yet. I really actually want to get out there, because I'm not kidding. I could walk there in about 10 minutes, and I just haven't had a chance. It's been there for 2 summers now.
But one of the challenges with foot golf is they don't get to take advantage of hilly terrain in the same way that we do with disc golf.
No, I can't.
Because the ball won't stay there.
It just rolls. It just rolls away. You need to find flat spots.
I mean,
I can't imagine
either
how
that or they have to have it.
Be.
It has to be like in an unmowed area. Sure. where it'll stop reasonably in just regular high grass.
Wow.
But it's the whole marketplace is interesting. I've got a solution for high school, and like I said, that's something that we could talk about in a future.
Yeah, I'd like to bring you guys. I'd like to bring you back on for get Terry here, because I know Terry's much more attuned to the course designer side. I get a little bit from him now and again, but he knows he's always working with someone or other. So, and I know that's one of your little passions as well. So.
Yeah, well, I mean, for a lot of the newer viewers out there, that I'm not sure they realize the extent of different committees that I'm involved with.
Geez. We don't have all night, Chuck.
No, but I'm on the Tech Standards Committee, which is, part of the connection with the game development team.
Yep.
I'm on the competition committee and head up the course committee and the ratings. And I've sort of been an ad hoc liaison to the rules committee, although I'm not a committee member. Mm-hmm. Now one of my good associates here locally, Steve West, is official member of the rules committee, and they've got some exciting things in terms of improvements to the wording and tweaks to some of the way things are handled, like Meadows, plan for 2017. So that'll be something worth talking about down the road in terms of some of the new ideas. It kind of intersects with the game development team and us testing, some of those ideas.
Wow.
Lots of stuff. Like
I was going to say, plenty to look forward to in the upcoming year. That's for sure.
Sounds good. Well, we set for today.
Yeah, I think we're set for today. Chuck, everyone out there, all the Smashies, thank you for coming on. As always, whenever I get to talk to you, it's informative. So I look forward to. Are you going to be hitting any major events this year? Are you going to be out there?
Well, I'm probably maybe in the top 10 in terms of worlds attended, am and pro combined. Not necessarily as a player, but just being there, whether it was helping run it or assisting or taking pictures or doing scoring or whatever. So I'll probably end up at one or both worlds this year. Probably not as a player. I was there at Emporia and played the courses in the AM Worlds. I wasn't playing in it. I was the scorekeeper, but so I've kind of seen what those courses are about. One of my missions is to go and play different courses when I can.
Yeah.
So places like that are interesting. I'm hoping soon to finish a course design out in Kauai.
If you let me know if you need help, Chuck.
I know. I've had a lot of offers.
I'm sure.
I'm hoping they can get their act together so I can go out there while it's 0 degrees here right now.
Yeah.
But I have a feeling it's going to be March or April when I go out there. But that'll be the first course in Kauai. But
I was going to say, last question before I let you go. Do you plan
Sure.
on being at the Minnesota Pro Tour event?
Likely, yeah. That's the last weekend of July.
Yeah, it's in my calendar. It's in it's in our Smashbox calendar that we haven't made public yet. So.
And I guess the Cedar Creek Open is our other big A tier, which is only a week after that, but that's during Pro World, so that'll be interesting. With some of the new team players like Mike Downs and Zach Schaefer, my services haven't been needed as much at World, so I may actually stick around Minnesota and play that for the first time because I've missed it the last several years because it's always in around the same time period.
Sure.
I hope to get down. I understand I just saw there's a Masters event. I think Josh Hamm is putting it on maybe at Riverside in May. It's Masters only, Masters and above.
That could be. I usually I don't.
Yeah, so I might get down your way at that time.
The Riverside course is a lot of fun. I've played there. I don't tend to play Josh Hamm events in general. Just
I understand.
I've been very well.
There's
multiple
reasons. I
reasons,
just played the course for the first
but
time.
in general, I'm busy.
Right on New Year's.
Okay. Yeah.
We're breaking up
a little bit. Yeah, but that Riverside. I'll say this: that Riverside course, I believe he had somewhat to do with putting it in. Him and I think Duster. I'm not positive on that, but our Duster had some input. It's a great course, so you can't argue with that, and it's a lot of fun. So.
Yeah, it was fun. We were only able to play about a dozen holes. I played with John Dorn and a local named Darren, and
Okay.
we popped over to Josh's store, and I was on my way back. My family's in Toledo, Ohio, so I pass through on a regular basis. Hopefully, you can get down and play my Squaw Creek course just on the other side of the border in Illinois sometime.
Yeah. Casual rounds are few and far between for me these days, and when they are, it's usually with a 6-year-old in tow, so I can give my wife a break.
Are we out?
Well, Chuck, we're running into some Skype issues, so I'm gonna let you get going here. Thanks for joining us today, and we'll work with Terry about getting you on in the next week or two. So have a wonderful night, get some sleep, and we will talk to you soon.
Sounds good.
Thanks, Chuck. That was Chuck Kennedy, folks. Your PDGA everything. Like I said, I was joking when I said we don't have all night. He is on a number of committees. He helps out enormously. He does so much behind the scenes that people don't even realize. He is involved so heavily with the sport. There's so many things out there that people take for granted that he does. So if you ever run into Chuck, just give him a good pat on the back and say thanks for everything you do out there. All right, we have, what are we doing here? I wish Beats 1982 says, why not play a ham event? Josh and I have had our issues in the past. I believe he's blocked me on Facebook at this point. And his events, I'll say this, I've got friends that play them, and they are much better than they used to be. I used to complain that, here's a good tip, and I think we've said this before. If you run a raffle, use the raffle time appropriately while you're getting your payouts. Then do the payouts and then finish your raffle. Do not hold people hostage who are waiting for payouts for your raffle that may take an extra hour. Because people that aren't involved in the raffle don't want to sit there. That was one of my first main complaints about Josh's events, is that the time it took them to complete. And then after that, I can't remember. It's been so long. Josh and I had some disagreements in the past, so I just don't play those particular events. And on top of that, it's a lot of time I just don't have to play events. I pick and choose my events very carefully now. And with the broadcasting that we're doing this year, we are broadcasting the Manitowoc in the Park. I have played that event 15 years in a row because it is one of my favorite events. I like the courses so much. And this year, I'm falling off the bandwagon. I guess that's what you'd say, because I don't get to play. I get to participate by bringing it to everybody else, but I don't get to play this year. So it's an interesting thing. So yeah, so I wish no one any ill will. I want everyone to flourish in the sport. The more people we have flourish, the better the sport is, no matter who you are. So we'll leave it at that. Are there any other questions before we can call this an early night? I wish, hopefully next time Chuck can get a little bit better bandwidth. He was a little staticky at times, but for a good portion of that, it was really good. So I'm happy to have Chuck on. That's for sure. So for those of you that weren't here, or people that are tuning in now, we announced that Drew Gibson is joining DD, Dynamic Disc. We hopped in on their little poker game where there was half the city of Emporia, where all the DD employees were there. So DD does not stand for Daredevil. DD does not stand for Discmania, which Drew slipped up once or twice and said. No, Dynamic Discs. Be dynamic. So, pick of the week. What is my pick of the week? I was thinking about this. I finished watching Man in the High Castle, and I really, really loved it up until about the last 3 minutes. I don't know where they're going with the last 3 minutes of the show, but I don't know if I like the direction I'm assuming season 2 is going to take. So, I'll just say it kind of took a spin into the Lost territory. But up until then, it's kind of a really cool what-if period piece. I enjoyed it quite a bit. The other pick that I have is something called Splash Math. If you have kids out there anywhere between ages, kindergarten, so 6th through 5th grade, it's an iPad app that I paid a decent amount of money for a full unlimited access to hand to my kid so he can sit and practice his math. I'm very fortunate that my child has a very good aptitude for math, and he's 6.5, and he's already doing 3-digit math. He's doing multiplication. He's doing a little bit of algebra as far as solving for X and things like that. Just real basic stuff. So, but Splash Math, it sends parents an update every week, or I think you can even change it, the frequency of it, to update you on your kids' progress and what they do and what they don't do. So, Ash versus the Evil Dead. That's another good thing, a fun thing to talk about. I'm about 3 or 4 episodes in, and after the first episode, I wasn't sold. I was kind of like, I'm not sure. I let it sit for a few weeks, and then I binged like 4 episodes, and I really grew to like it. I just haven't got back to finish the last 5 or 6 episodes that are out there. I'm really looking forward to it. It's very gory. I mean, very gory. And it's exactly what you want out of an Evil Dead series. So if you enjoy it, so what am I doing with my hands? Oh, I forgot you guys have this whole full view now. Normally I sit, it's chopped off usually about right here, and so I sit like this because otherwise my arms look funny if they're out or if I'm sitting like that. So I tend to put them under the table, and I almost always have this in my hand, which is a microphone stand, and I'll fidget with my fingers because I'm notorious for fidgeting. In fact, when we first got this, I literally cut my finger wide open because it had a little sharp edge on it. So yeah, that's what I was doing with my hands. It's force of habit now to keep them under the desk unless I'm typing. Otherwise, you can kind of hear and me hitting the table and stuff like that. So it's more of a habit at this point after 70 episodes. Jeez. So thanks, Check to Muppet. Doing a good job flying solo there at the end. Chuck makes it easy because I am interested. Someone said I look like I was falling asleep. Very, very incorrect. I was actually reading different things on the board, and what Chuck says interests me quite a bit because I think he's got a very good insight on the sport. He's got a lot of contacts, and he talks with a lot of people out there. So I'm always very interested to kind of find out what Chuck is up to. So, and Chuck, we've said it 1,000 times. Chuck throws a lot of spaghetti at the wall, and some of it sticks, and some of it doesn't. And the stuff that sticks is really good, but you have to try everything. You know, you have to, even if you think it's kind of a crazy, silly idea, it doesn't hurt to give it a shot. That's kind of what I always say. Let's see here. John, JVTU Madonna. I don't know what that means. I'm not a material girl, and this is not a material world. John, when is the official page announcement? Any word? Not from me. I have no idea. As far as I know, she's still under contract with Prodigy through 2016, I think. I don't know. Terry tends to talk with the pros a little bit more than I do because he's out and about and traveling. So if anyone has any inside information, it's him. I can be very honest and say that right now I don't know anything about what Paige is going to be doing. So as of right now, as far as I know, she's still with Prodigy. So where is Terry? Terry is in Vegas, I'm fairly certain. He was in Maricopa, and I think he kind of took a quick hike over to Vegas where he's there visiting and taking care of a couple things. And I might be wrong with that, though, because to be honest, I was kind of surprised he wasn't here. It was like 8:30, and I kind of expected him to be here. Suddenly he pops up online, and he had told me he wasn't sure if he was going to be here, or he was sure he knew he wasn't going to be here. And then suddenly he wasn't here, which is why we had a couple weird audio issues because I was kind of in the background panicking, creating some new shots. And I messed up the audio on one or two of them because when I create a new shot, it grabs like whatever the audio I add first, which isn't what we want. We want the mixing board audio. So that's why for a couple seconds there, we lost audio as I quickly had to replace it. So let's see. Let's see here. Matt Dollar not with Innova now. That is correct. Videos on Prodigy's YouTube channel released today did not. Yeah, there was a video on Prodigy. I saw that released today. It did not include Paige in it. I don't know if that's maybe because she just wasn't available. I know she's been traveling a lot. She's been away from Texas for quite a while. So I don't know if they just couldn't get her for that, or if that means more than what it means. I don't know. As Eric McCabe said earlier tonight, who knows what's going to happen in 2016, you know? So, and yeah, Paige, we've said that about all the pros. It doesn't matter what they throw. They're going to win. Paige can beat me with a paper plate, or maybe not a paper one, but a plastic plate for sure. She'll crush me with that. Does Terry go to Vegas a lot? Not usually. I think he's only been there 3 times. It just so happens he's been there twice in the past couple of weeks or past couple months. So, Smashbox discs, spit that out. Will be available. Yes, they're still available through Terry. Specific models, I'm not privy. I just haven't asked what models he still has available. We got them through Innova, so I know that they are Innova molds. So you'll have to reach out to him to figure out what they're at. I would kind of like to do, and Matt Dollar is with Innova. Yeah, I don't know who's with what, to be honest. And someone says, wait, Anton is coming back. I have not heard anything about Josh. I'd like to follow up because Josh is one of my favorite people. I've spent a lot of time off the course with him and Stevie together, and they are a blast. And I know it sounds kind of crazy. If I could spend time with, just a couple guys off the disc golf course after a tournament, it would be Josh and Steve. Both of those guys are so much fun. I love them to death. So, Yeah, dollar is lat 64 now. Thank you. Checked him up. I was fairly certain that was right there. JVD gets some Smashbox TI magnets. I love the magnet in general. I was a 4-chain, and I only say that because that's the when I started throwing them, 4-chain hard magnet kind of guy. And I've got a few sitting around. They're all kind of beat up, and I'm too cheap to go out and a couple years ago, suddenly people started talking about 3-chain versus 4-chain, and I was so confused. And then I realized that Discraft changed up the stamp, and people got all crazy, like it makes a big difference. And the 4-chains went up in value, and at that point, I was kind of looking for a new disc to throw anyway for my putters. I stuck with magnets for a very, very long time, probably 10 years. And then I moved over to the legacy discs for putters, the clutch and the closer. And I was confused the two. The one without the bead I really liked a lot. I think it's the clutch. And I enjoyed that quite a bit. And then just recently, I think maybe second to last event I played, I picked up a Judge. I walked up to the Dynamic Disc RV and just said, I need a putter. I wasn't putting well. I wanted something a little more stable. And a friend of mine said, here, try the Judge. It's stable. And sure as crap is it stable. I could not putt with it, but I threw with it. It's a great throwing putter. That's how I feel about it. Anton on Legacy. I could see that happening when everything shakes out. I could see Josh going to Legacy if it's possible. What's in your new bag? I don't have a new bag yet, Andrew Williams. I threw an old bag together, and I went through my closet, and I don't have anything flippy. I threw in one. I take it back. I do. I've got a leopard in there that flips ridiculous. It's a star leopard. I had a star leopard that I threw that was stable, and I loved it because I would throw it on a little hyzer, and I could rip into it, and it would just stand up and barely turn. And it was the most perfect straight flying disc right out of the box. I grabbed what I thought was its brother or sister out of my rack, the one I bought the exact same time. And I went just a couple weeks ago and threw it, and it flipped probably like a leopard should. And I don't like it. It's clearly got a spot in my bag if I need it for a bigger turnover shot, but it didn't do what I wanted it to do. And I've got a 150 T-Bird. I've got Destroyer in my bag, Comets, of course, Buzzes, of course. And I think I threw a magnet in there because I had some lying around for a putter, but that's not. I'm not sold on the magnets as much anymore because, like I said, the ones I have, they're all beat up and warped, and I kind of want to try and play around with some other things. I'm thinking about picking up a Roach to see how that goes. So. A winter summer bag. It's a only bag that I have. So let's see. Anything else on there? Comet hype. You can't hype the Comet enough. It is my favorite disc. Regardless, any plastic. If I could go out and only throw one piece of plastic the rest of my life, right now it would be a Comet. It just does everything. It does everything I want. If I wanted to, the only thing it can't do is I can't crush a hyzer with it because it always stands up straight. Almost no matter, I'd have to put a lot of hyzer on that magnet in order to get it to hyzer out because clearly the more power I put on it, the more snap I put on it, it flips up. But I can throw a Comet, and trust me, this isn't bragging. I throw a Comet 320 on a line, almost anywhere I want. Hyzer and hyzer. Little bit of hyzer, straight and hyzer. I love it. The Buzz I can throw about the same distance, 300 to 320, but I throw it more with a hyzer, or I have a hard time getting it to go perfectly straight. And I have a Buzz SS, an EMAC Buzz SS in my bag right now because I had a couple sitting there. One of the original, literally the day they came out, I bought them because I've always liked EMAC in general, but I liked the Buzz, and I thought this might be more like my beat-in Buzz, so I went with that. So I'm doing that. So let's see here. The Comet is sick. I do use I have an ESP one that I haven't really got into. I'm using, my favorite are the Z Comets. They have a little bit more stability to them. The other one in my bag is an X Comet, and that's a little more flippy. And I like it because it'll turn. It doesn't go as far as the Z, but it flips a little quicker for me, so I can shape a shot a little bit better with that than I can the Z. But yeah, I've heard a lot of people talk about the ESP Comet, so I want to get in there. I don't know anything about the Fuse. Sorry, I'm so. No, Josie says a beat in buzz is a meteor. They're great straight out box. Okay, yeah, I'm sorry, I read that wrong. You're right. A beat in buzz is kind of a meteor, but a beat in buzz is I think it's a little bit better than a meteor. I like a meteor fresh out of the box. For me, I've had a couple of them, early ones, and the meteor flew really well the first like 30 throws. And I play a lot of wooded courses. The meteor just didn't hold up. After it hit a couple trees, it didn't do much for me. It was too flippy then at that point. Whereas if my comets seem to hold up a little bit better to the abuse I give a disc. So we'll see how that works. I do like a meteor straight out of a box because it flips. I throw it on an Anheuser and I know it's not going to come out. A comet might pan just a little bit, and a buzz, I have a tendency to stall buzzes if I try to throw them Anheuser, unless I'm throwing a big crushing Anheuser. So it's hard to narrow a bag down sometimes. It is, and that's the issue I'm having right now is, and I mentioned it last week, what can manufacturers do to help you decide on what discs there are? Because there are so many options now, and I want to try. I used to buy a lot of new plastic, and I just don't anymore because I don't play enough. But on top of that, I do still want to put together a good bag. I'm really looking forward to picking up some DD stuff because I haven't had a chance to really dig into their lineup. The Truth is one that I want to play with. I believe that's their mid-range that goes very straight. I think the EMAC signature Truth. And then they've got a bunch of different plastics that, listening to Disc Golf Answer Man, I don't know what I want. Maybe I'll write to them and ask them what I want or what I should put in my bag. I'm really excited that we're doing the GBO because I hope to get down there a couple days early. Maybe we can finally get that Smashbox versus Disc Golf Answer Man event, that little doubles thing taken care of, so we can finally show them what's up. As long as I've got Terry putting for me, I feel confident. Let's see here. Some of the other comments on the board. Tyler Durden says, a Tursus turns easier than a Meteor. That's hard to believe. A Meteor turns pretty easily. Let's see. Disc golf manufacturers need to do demo days like the ski industry does. I don't disagree with that. I think that'd be kind of cool at your Am Worlds or your Pro Worlds or even some of the bigger events. Show up with just a bunch of plastic and a pro and let them throw and show you what they can do. You know, have EMAC pull out I'm drawing a blank on the new one, the super overstable one that they were just talking about. But have them throw out one of those. Have them throw a Truth. Have them throw a Judge. And I know they're doing that on their social media presence, which is really cool. And is this disc right for me? But seeing it in person and being able to throw it yourself makes a huge difference. You can watch even a Bobby, who is a lower skill level player than EMAC, you can watch him throw and still not get a feel for the disc. Have him come with a bunch of plastic so you can sit there and throw a couple shots, a stack of 5 discs and just chuck them and be like, okay, I think I like this, because I think that could do wonders for it. And they do have a cool, I'll say this, DD is, I'm really, really liking the DD philosophy on their company. They have a buyback program. If you don't like a disc, I think within 14 days or something, or 7 days, you can return it and they'll give you your money back. Or I don't know if they'll give you your money back. They'll give you a different piece of plastic. I'll have to verify that. I know they have a buyback program. I just don't know exactly what it does. So the DD RV does have testers. Very cool. The Enforcer, that's the one I was looking for. Yes. So CCDG versus Jomez versus Disc Golf Answer Man versus Smashbox. That would be pretty awesome. I don't know who's all going to be at the GBO. I know Jomez is, so he's welcome to join us. And DG Answer Man, of course, and Smashbox. I feel pretty confident in Terry and I. If I get just like a round or two in beforehand, that's all I really need. I feel pretty confident with my game. That I'm confident that I'm going to be a good solid 940 level. Disc golf. Now Brody says Disc Golf Fans Man would win that battle. That depends on the format. My thought was if it's best shot, more than likely EMAC is going to be able to elevate that team enough to probably beat us. But if we did a 6, 6, and 6, a best alternate worst, that's where we could get into some fun. So Macbeth has to throw left-handed if he wants to play. I'm not that guy. Ugh. He's too good. He's just watching him work out online and whatever, all those posts he puts up out there. He's just he's literally a beast. He truly is. It's gonna be fun to watch. I don't know if anyone has gone at this sport the way he has, or maybe it could just be because of social media. We're seeing it more, but I'll be curious. I'd love to see what a true athlete, like someone who takes their craft extremely seriously, works out, puts in the hours to practice, what they can do in this sport. And we're starting to see it with him. So these other guys really need to step up their game in order to compete. So it'll be fun. I did not get a chance to see the Macbeth versus CCDG guys. I saw that it was out there, but didn't get a chance to really dig into it. So let's see here. I think that's, yeah, it was Macbeth's home course. I'm sure he won. I'll watch it. I just got moved at work. For those of you that follow me on Facebook, you'll see I work in a small department. It's myself and my assistant. And so we get shifted around a lot whenever things need to move. So I just got put into this tiny little cubicle. It's like 6 by 6. And in the past 5 years, I've gone from a really big, nice office, a corner office, not windows, unfortunately, but it was still in the corner of our office, to a smaller office, to a big cube, to a medium-sized cube, to a smaller cube. And there's a lot of Office Space jokes out there about whether or not I'm going to end up in the basement. And I don't think so. My employers love me, and I love my employers. They treat me very well, and I think I do a good job for them. So, and eventually, once everything gets sorted out, I'll move back to my bigger cube once we get the training people out of there after a couple months. But it's just kind of funny being shifted around so much. How about you or Terry versus someone on video? I'd like to see how you guys play. Tyler Durden. I can tell you, I'm much better with my mid-range game than I am with a drive, because I don't have to. I've got awful footwork, and I know this. I've said this before on the podcast, that my form is ugly, and I know that. It's not like atrocious ugly, like where you turn at, like some people, you look at them and go, how do they even throw? But I know when I look at myself throw, I think, ew, like that doesn't look like pros should throw. Yeah, I get the job done though. And I think that's why I lose a little accuracy, but I really like throwing mid-ranges. So again, I'll put myself up against, any 950, 960 rated player out there. I have my days. If you look at my round rating history, I tend to, when I was playing a lot, I would throw, a couple thousand rated rounds a year, but I'd follow them up with a couple 900 rated rounds or lower. So the consistency factor was never quite there. And for some reason, putting doesn't seem that hard to me. I know it sounds silly. Once I get a couple putts in me, I'm pretty solid inside of 30. I'm usually drawing metal, if not putting them in. So I'm pretty consistent with that. But it's been it's getting to that point. It's getting to inside the circle for me lately has been my issue. So Joe says he saw me at Estabrook this summer and it wasn't that bad. No, it's not. Like I said, it's not horrible, but it could definitely be cleaned up. My footwork, my pullback, I don't reach back as far as I can. I curl a little too much. I don't round, as they say, and bring it around. Like, instead of pulling straight back, you're supposed to kind of pull around yourself. I don't do any of those things. When I started playing, I created a lot of bad habits that you didn't see yourself. No one recorded themselves. I didn't have access to cameras and stuff like that to correct it. And after 7, 8, 9 years of playing like that, you create those habits and they're hard to break. So that's one of a good tip is if you're starting out or if you have time, film yourself from a couple different angles. Try to work on that. So there's a bunch of social media out there that can help you now. If you can, even get a ladder and get someone to film you from above so you can really truly see the path that your arm is taking and things like that. And that can help you out quite a bit. So 90% of the game is putting. Yeah, 90% of the game is putting. Which is why I tend to do well at the events that I do well at. It's because I like putting. It's fun for me. I'm a very 9 times out of 10, I'm a very flat, straight, direct putter. I don't tend to put a lot of hyzer in my putt. I don't put any anhyzer in my putt. It's more of just a straight from my body, push it. I don't get as much distance on my longer putts that I would like, but I'm a direct putter. So yeah, muscle memory is extremely hard to change, which is why I'm glutton. I'm destined to be behind the desk. So I'm destined to be watching these top pros. I remember thinking when I was younger, like, if I can just get to be the masters, just get to be masters age. And I'd like to maybe, this is when I was, in my early 20s, maybe even not even 20 yet, when I started golfing, thinking like, I'm not going to fool myself into thinking I'm going to be a top pro, but if I can just keep getting better and better, by the time I'm 40, I'm sure the tour will be big enough that someone like me maybe can make a living, a very modest living. I'm 37 now, so that was 17 years ago. I remember thinking that, and we are no closer as of right now, today, to that happening. Now, whether these tours that we're going to see help change that in the next couple of years, I truly hope so for some of these players. But for me, I know where my disc golf future lies, and it's behind these boards. So Kevin James says the flatter the disc is the more chains it can hit. So I putt flat, spoosh, spin, push, putt. Yeah, that's the thing. There's a spin and the push putt. I tend to do more of a spin putt, I believe. And the only issue I've ever had with my putts after I used to blow past putts all the time is I can hit just wrong on the side of, like, if I hit the rim wrong, because of the spin, it'll flip up and roll. And that's frustrating to me. Because you don't miss by much, but you hit that angle just right, and mine can be gone. As opposed to like kind of the flop putt that kind of comes up and comes down, and they roll less likely. So for me, my big thing is hitting the cage wrong and getting up and rolling. But yeah, Kevin McCoy, Masters disc golf rich, a good dream. Exactly. That's why I've scaled back, and I know if I'm not gonna make a living at disc golf. I'm not gonna fool myself, probably ever. Even doing the stuff that I'm doing right now, I have wild dreams of putting together a Smashbox media network. These are kind of pipe dreams. Hosting a couple podcasts, being able to film an event every week or two, and being able to make enough to support my family. And even that, I look now and go, oh, if only I could get to there in 10 years. Maybe not. But I didn't win the lottery. So if I won the lottery, you guys would have disc golf every week. So we'll see. Keith, I saw your picture with the Smashbox shirt. I believe I liked it. I don't remember if it was under me or under Smashbox, but it was the one of you holding the mini basket. Very cool. I liked it. So, yeah. Disc Golf Nerd said his putting is garbage lately. I'm experimenting with straddle to make a change. You want to see an ugly straddle? I'll film an ugly straddle. It's this guy right here. I'm bad. B-A-D at the straddle putt. I'd rather putt from one knee. I'd rather putt from my tiptoes. I'd rather putt upside down. There's something about a straddle putt that just I can't center in on it. And if I do, it's very short distances. I'm not bad straddling inside of 15. You get me outside of 15 and I don't know where that plastic is going. So we'll see. Any other questions out there? I'll scroll up real quick and we'll see if there's any other questions from the crowd. Other than that, we'll have to call it a night. When we do play Disc Golf Answer Man in our little challenge, we'll have to take turns filming. but there'll be some. It'll be a good time. There'll be some trash talk. There might be some side gambling, for fun, of course. No money involved. But yeah, Disc Golf says he's trying to channel his inner Schwebby around the basket. Schwebby is unique. He's such a big, bulky guy, and he's so good. He's staying so long. So you're welcome for the after show, Joe. I appreciate doing this. Like I said, it makes my nights go a lot faster. I'm gonna do a little bit of editing after this so I can get this podcasts up, so I don't have to think about it till next week. And if you guys have any ideas as far as other podcasts disc related that you'd like to know, just send them out to me. I'm always looking for ideas. I wouldn't mind maybe dedicating one more night a week to doing podcasts or a live show as well. I have thought one of our issues is we have a hard time with Zoe getting her on regularly because she's such a traveler that I would think about maybe, spinning her off into her own series and working with that, maybe dedicating it towards women's golf. And that would not probably involve Terry. That maybe just me and Zoe. But for now, because she's so irregular as it is, we keep her on the regular show, and I like that. So this summer will be interesting because she's got all this new equipment and she's learning how to use it. So I'm really excited to see what she can bring to the show over the next couple months. Schwebby does not make me want to throw thumbers. I used to be deadly with thumbers when I first started because I couldn't throw backhand or forehand. I was really good within 300 feet. I was extremely accurate. I could get the disc and do all sorts of stuff, and then it starts to wear on your shoulder if you don't do it properly, which I never did. I threw as hard as I could, and then the next day I'd be sore, real sore, more sore than anything else. So, I'm glad we make your days go quicker with our podcasts. Like I said, make sure to subscribe to Disc Golf Answer Man as well. I was late on that bandwagon. I knew it was out there, but I don't think I really started listening until around episode 80 or 85. And part of me kind of wanted to avoid it just because I wanted to make sure that all my thoughts were my original thoughts, that I wasn't listening to other people with the news and things like that and having that kind of pollute what my thoughts are. But now I've become very good, and I usually wait to listen to Disc Golf Answer Man for a couple days, so that I can get, when Terry and I are talking to guests or whatnot, that I can make sure that all my thoughts are my original thoughts and they're not being bombarded by maybe what somebody else had said. But the Disc Golf Answer Man podcast is very fun to listen to. They're good guys, and part of me wishes I lived a little closer to Emporia, because listening to EMAC and Bobby, I think we get along pretty swimmingly. Go see Star Wars with EMAC or something. So, all right, for after show number 70, brought to you by Dynamic Disc. I'd like to thank Chuck for joining us again, and this is kind of the after show. Someone asked real quick if we'd ever be up for having AMs on. Yeah, we could have AMs on. We could do an AMs. We could do AM only podcast even. But if we're not opposed to having anybody on, assuming they have good information and they're doing something for the sport. So for episode 70, this is John without my partner in crime tonight. Thanks for tuning in. Make sure to subscribe to us on iTunes, Stitcher, whatever podcast you listen to. Give us a good review if you enjoy the show. And we will see you next week, Tuesday, 9 p.m. Central, like normal. Hopefully maybe with Dave Felberg. So for John Van Derzen, Johnny V, JV Phobic on Twitter, I'm signing out. Have a good night.